All right, good afternoon, everyone. The July 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting is called to order at 4:02. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. There is one late item. Has everyone received it? May I have a motion to amend the July 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting agenda by adding the late item titled Closed Session, sections 90 brackets 1 brackets C brackets G and brackets I of the Community Charter as item number 14.
So moved.
Councillor Anderson?
I'll second that.
Councillor Noel? All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Due to the large volume of agenda items, would Council consider deferring the 3 housing-related items to the special Council meeting on July 29th? These items are 8.8, Reports Direction on Next Steps, Housing Policy and Bylaws, 8.9, Reports Long-Term Rental Priority Policy, and 11, Information Items, Ucluelet Housing Actions Update.
Yeah, I would be very supportive of that. So
You'll make that motion?
yes, I would.
Okay. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you. So I will move that the reports titled Direction on Next Steps, Housing Policy and Bylaws, and Long-Term Rental Priority Policy Revisited, as well as the information item titled Ucluelet Housing Actions Update, be deferred to a special council meeting scheduled for July 29th, 2025. I guess that's just repeating the motion we just made, but in more words. Do I have a seconder?
So move. Second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. So may I have a motion to adopt the July 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting agenda as amended?
So moved.
Councillor Anderson? Councillor Noel? All in favor? None opposed. That carries. There is one set of minutes for adoption. Are there any errors or omissions for any of these meeting minutes? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the July 8th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as presented?
Move adoption.
Councillor Hoare? Councillor Anderson? All in favor? None opposed. That carries. We have 3 delegations on the agenda today. We will need a procedural motion to allow for more than 2 delegations on the agenda according to our procedure bylaw. So I will move that Council suspend Section 18.3 of the District of Ucluelet Council Procedure Bylaw number 1300/2021 for the July 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting in order to allow more than 2 delegations on the agenda. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Noel. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. The first delegation is from Rebecca Hurwitz from Clayoquot Biosphere Trust regarding an invitation to the Biosphere 25th anniversary and the 2024 annual report. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much for having me today. My name is Rebecca Hurwitz, and I'm the Executive Director of the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust. And I just wanted to share a short update and apologies to those folks who've already heard this update at other tables. As you likely know, the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust is the local community foundation and also the steward of the Clayoquot Sound UNESCO Biosphere designation. Each nation and community make appointments to our board of directors. And so I give big thanks to Sarah Evelina and Claire Stone, who are the directors that are appointed by the District of Ucluelet. I wanted to share a few highlights from our 2024 annual report. And I also dropped off hard copies for you in your meeting packages. Last year, we granted more than $1.2 million to local organizations, nations, and communities. That's a record for the CBT and more than $300,000 more than the previous year. So those grants are from $50 up to $50,000, with the larger grants being for stewardship and restoration projects. So I just invite you to check out the list of grants on page 22 and 23 and hope you see lots of projects that you've participated in, events, community gatherings, those sorts of things. On the Biosphere Center, we completed all of our design work last year, and we're in the final stages of our project approvals and permits right now. We've raised almost $12.5 million, and we're eager to get shovels in the ground, but we're still seeking provincial commitment before proceeding. So that's our current status. And last year, we hosted 2 regional forums with a focus on stewardship, restoration, and research, and really grateful to those folks from the district that attended those forums. I invite you to take a closer look at the hard copy of the report and hope that you'll pass it along to a friend or a coworker when you're done with it. As introduced, this year marks the 25th anniversary of the formation of the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust, but more importantly, it's the 25th anniversary of the Biosphere, and we're hosting a regional gathering in partnership with Tloquit First Nation, and respectfully would like to invite you to attend. So I've also dropped off some postcard invitations. The theme of the gathering is taking pride in working together, and we're really excited to bring together all communities, residents, visitors for a day of celebration and community and connection. We'll be recognizing our commitment and achievements in conservation, sustainable development, and reconciliation. And the format of the day will allow opportunities for each community and nation to share a few words on those themes. We'll also have a community feast and like booths from other nonprofits, lots of space to mix and mingle. And we'll be gathering at the Wickaninnish Community School field in Tofino. So we're really grateful for your support via the grant in aid and hope that folks will be able to attend and speak on the theme, taking pride in working together. Yeah, it would be awesome to know who could be a point of contact for following up, and then we can make more arrangements to provide space for the district to share the thoughts and participate. So that's my update. Happy to take any questions related to the CBT and follow up about the regional gathering.
Great, thank you, Rebecca. And I see the celebration is September 20th from 10 until dusk. That's a big program.
Yeah, absolutely. The Tloquit Hotways told us that that they set the date and suggested we start at 10 and let us know that it will be a full day with participation from all the nations and communities. So we're really excited.
That's great, thank you. Any questions for Rebecca? No. I know I asked this at the CBT table or the ACRD table. How much are you still needing to raise for your Biosphere Center?
Yeah, we got our Class A cost estimate back recently, so that will be the final cost estimate for the project, and it's now a $20 million project. So we have a gap to close there. The gap with the province particularly is $5 million, and so that's really, it would be a game changer in the board feeling ready to get shovels in the ground. So that's our big focus.
And will you break ground next year, do you think?
It's all subject to that funding. So if you have any ideas or suggestions, that's really like the key is the board has said it's not necessary to achieve 100% of the funding, but to have a pathway forward to achieving it is what's important. And so it could be like a multi-year commitment from the province, something like that. We've got the federal contribution, which is huge, and it's also helps to bring the province to the table. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Our second delegation is from Angela Marie McDougall from the Battered Women's Support Services regarding public safety, designed with Survivors Initiative. Do we have Ms. McDougall on Zoom? If not, we can move on to the third delegation, and if She's not online quite yet.
Apologies, Mayor McEwen. I don't believe that's Angela, the hands raised. She does have a panelist invite. I'll just send her an email and we can
Okay.
move on to the next delegation.
All right. The next delegation is from Samantha Hackett and Carrie Ho from the West Coast Multiplex Society regarding Recreation and Parks Master Plan Draft and Canada Community Building Fund. Do we have Ms. Hackett and Ms. Ho? Oh. Okay. Welcome.
Hello?
Perfect.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Taff. I'm a resident of Ucluelet, and I'm here on behalf of the West Coast Multiplex Society. And the Society acknowledges the territories of the Ucluelet, Tloquet, Toquat, Ahousaht, and Heshquet, which this facility will support. Right now, Samantha is actually doing this same presentation to the District of Tofino. So I'm here. So we've got everything covered. Thank you so much for making time for us today as a delegation request. We really appreciate your willingness to have us, especially on a matter that's not just about infrastructure, but about shared values, wellness, and community resilience. We're here to speak to the Ucluelet Parks and Recreation Master Plan planning process that is currently underway and how it can, and we believe it should, prioritize regional collaboration on multi-use health and wellness facilities. We're also here to highlight a time-sensitive opportunity to pursue the next major infrastructure grant and how Ucluelet support and advocacy will help provide crucial benefit for the entire region. Let's begin with the simple truth that collaboration is hard, and we know this because this has been at the forefront of the multiplex since its inception. This project, the West Coast Multiplex, has been a regional effort for decades. It's been studied, designed, debated, and verified. We've had setbacks, changes of leadership and direction, but with overwhelming community support and need, it has continued as long as it has, with significant momentum and with a current trajectory to break ground in the next few years. But through it all, one thing has remained consistent. The need is real and the opportunity is shared. We want to acknowledge that this project was founded by leaders like you in each of the 8 communities. A swimming pool and ice arena are foundational amenities that support community health, youth development, and aging well, especially in a rural coastal region where options are limited. We're encouraged by the thoughtful foresight of the current draft Tofino Master Plan, Action 2B, because it calls on the District of Tofino to continue participating in regional recreation planning and facility partnerships. Their plan directly references the West Coast Multiplex Society, noting our active work towards a regional facility adjacent to the airport. It highlights the feasibility work we've done and the names the arena and pool as the core elements, and it points out that while grants and fundraising are essential, capital funding models will need exploration and partner engagement. So Ucluelet, you're not being asked to fund this alone. In fact, today, we're not asking for money at all. We're asking for support, leadership, and advocacy. Here's why this matters right now. The next round of major federal infrastructure funding through the Canada Community Building Fund, and specifically the Strategic Priorities Fund, is due September 12th. This fund is made exactly for this kind of project, something that is large in scale, regional impact, innovative, and supports the national objectives of productivity and economic growth, a clean environment, and a strong community. To be competitive, we need to demonstrate regional alignment through letters of support, master plan prioritization, and collaborative strategy. Ucluelet's voice carries weight. Your support will directly influence how funders view the readiness and regional unity behind this application. And make no mistake, this is not an if project, it's just a matter of when. To recap where the project is at, we already have a service bylaw in place, bylaw E1056, linking the District of Tofino, Ucluelet, Area C, and Toquot Nation to the operating costs of the facility. We have confirmation from the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District for the land, and just this spring, supporting with $50,000 and dedicated staff time to move this project forward. Feasibility studies and energy-efficient designs that connect the arena and pool to lower long-term operational costs. And support from Tofino Council as the high performance surf center, and to the project overall to the ACRD, as well as letters of support from the District of Ucluelet for past applications. And of course, we have a passionate, dedicated nonprofit society committed to the vision, all run by volunteers. We are building from a foundation of long-standing collaboration and community support. Today, to be clear, we're asking that the District of Ucluelet formally supports the advancement of the multiplex in the development of the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, not just in the next 10 years, but right away, as much as possible. Naming it as a strategic priority will help unlock future funding and solidify your role as a founding partner. 2, that the District of Ucluelet commits to supporting the grant application with a strong letter of support and political advocacy at UBCM and beyond. 3, that the district helps foster public awareness and engagement within the community. We're asking for championship, the kind that helped get this idea off the ground in the first place. The project meets the community's needs, aligns with long-term vision, and builds on your legacy as leaders in the region in recreation. We want to move forward together with Ucluelet at the table on the sidelines. So let's make the next chapter of the multiplex one that's written by all of us together. Thank you. Oops. Any questions?
Thank you, Julia. Any questions for Julia? No, it's for council. Councillor Noel?
Just a couple of comments. First of all, thank you for your dedication. It's amazing that your entire group's energy to keep this momentum alive. My only concern in all this is that we are also applying. Correct me if I'm wrong, and probably a question for Richard. He's on, right? We too are applying to that same fund. I imagine every local government is. So that'd be my only thing. We have needs for our own community, which are our top priority, and I hate to give a support letter that would perhaps compromise or jeopardize some of the things that we have in our tonight's report here. Maybe that's a question for you, Richard. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through the Councilor Noel, that was one comment I would make is just if you receive the delegation, is maybe ask for staff to come back on a report or at least some guidance to council of the types of grants that we're currently applying for, as well as others in the region, as well as some of the nations, just so we're consistent in which applications we're all going for.
And just to follow up, I think I want to respect your September deadline, and I think we all heard that. We're under the same microscope and timeline. So I don't know how we make a motion on that one, your worship, but I'll let you do that. But I think the reality is whatever we get from staff, it would be nice to see in the coming weeks here. September would be too late for them. So would you like me to make a motion?
Let's just see if there's other comments.
Sorry.
And Mr. Harding? Yeah.
Now, Mayor, if I could, Councilor Noel, we are having a special meeting on the 29th, and we'll make sure we have something. July 29th, we'll make sure we have a quick, short report for you there, just to outline what grants we're applying for and what some of our neighbors are applying for.
That would be helpful. Thank you. Other comments from council? No? And the Parks and Recreation Master Plan did have a public input period. Did you submit something?
We did, yes. We participated in the process.
Okay, so Ms. Fortune would have that document or whatever it is that you submitted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right, so would you like to make a motion to refer back to staff?
I would. How in depth does that motion need to be? Question to you.
Through Mayor to Council, it can be simply refer this item to staff.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll make the motion that we will ask staff to provide us a report on the. Did you say the July 29th meeting, Richard?
That's correct, Councilor. Yes.
Okay. On the 29th meeting.
Great, thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
So now we will go back to see if Angela Marie McDougall is online.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. Unfortunately, the delegate cannot present today.
Ah, okay. Okay, we have, excuse me, one item of unfinished business on the agenda, the development permit for Lot 13 change regrading in buffer. This item will be presented by Mr. Gregg, Director of Community Planning.
There we are. So through the mayor, this is a return of this item for discussion of this request to amend the development permit. And before I sort of get into it, I had a conversation with the applicant, Mr. McLean, the developer of the housing here, this afternoon. And so my understanding of what the request is slightly different than has been in the past. So I think perhaps it would help I'll give a little background of what is the request, where it came, and what my understanding currently of the request is, which may change some of the discussion. And Mr. McLean is here to sort of confirm. But I think that may help the conversation, because certainly there's a lot of interest in this item, and I think key to this as well. This is a current construction site and development that we want to try and find a solution here that hopefully satisfies everybody, but doesn't also delay the process of what's underway. So if that's okay with that, I'll just give a little bit of an overview. So on the screen is the partial site plan. This was the plan that is attached to the development permit and was presented as part of the rezoning in 2020. And so the green area on the margins is really a buffer area that was being proposed. On the east side, and there's an area that is circled in red there on the screen. That's the area where this current request is to, or what had been the request to alter the grading and do some changes within that. What was to be left aside is sort of the forested buffer on the edges. So that is an area that would be a green space covenant essentially once the subdivision was completed. So the grading plans are being developed by the engineers for the subdivision this spring. This plan was submitted. And so the area that's sort of hatched there, I'm going to point to it. It's at the sort of the gray hatched area. I'm pointing at the back of the room here because it's a little clearer for council to see. This area was shown, and so it's noted there to be, essentially vegetation removed and some grading work happening in there and then to be revegetated. And this was a change from the plan. This little note is there was basically a 5-foot stacked rock wall that was going to happen at this to retain the slope in these areas. An earlier version of the plan had this going all the way across, and this was changing it to say, well, okay, we're going to do some grading work here rather than build the wall in that place. To which, when staff saw this, we raised this with the developer, saying, well, okay, that area in there is within the 8-meter setback. You can see it's labeled. This is the 8-meter setback, sort of running right along here. And so that is not what was attached to the development permit and had been presented for the rezoning. So we sort of flagged that needs council approval, and obviously there's some challenges with keeping a forested buffer, but also grading within what is the root zone for the trees that are there. So lots of input from the community in written input. And it's some discussions with the developer. So I will now share what my current understanding of the request is, and I think this may help things. And so this view is the knoll of rock in question. So this is that area. There has been regrading towards the back of it. That basically spans the lot 29 and 30. And so there's a rock face where this knoll has been removed to lower the grade to level out the area so homes could be placed there. And their concern is that this is, on the edge of it, you can really see there's the rock and the darker brown on top is the soil and roots of the forest. And then there are trees that are growing on top of that. That mat of sort of forest root and soil is really, integral to the rock. So any grading within that, the original request was to be lowering this, it would be removing that and obviously impacting the trees and the surrounding trees. So I'll point out a couple just on the left. There's sort of a protruding bit of rock on the left side here. I'm going to highlight it in a second. So the request, as I understand it from discussion this afternoon with Mr. McLean, is not to go further into the buffer area, but to remove those 2 protruding knobs of rock. And this view is from the side, and so they do sort of stick out from the edge of the soil, and basically to remove these 2 knobs this is the same area, but looking at it 2 different directions. It's kind of a nose of rock that sticks out here. That is the part that he wishes to go in and remove. And to leave essentially what is the forest floor and the roots as is going forward. So that, as I understand, his geotechnical engineer has indicated would leave the rock face in a stable state that he could sign off on, and that there wouldn't be further removal of forested buffer, which is quite different than the original request was coming forward. And so the last piece that I would sort of note as part of this discussion is there have been a number of questions, and I was on site on Friday and taking some measurements and looking at it. And yes, the excavation that has happened so far has actually gone into the 8-meter buffer somewhat. A survey will confirm where the top of slope and the edge is now, but whether it's 1 or 2 meters in places that are sort of cutting into that is essentially done. As we've discussed with Mr. McLean, that as part of the subdivision, when that kind of thing happens, really it's impossible to glue back the rock at this part and put soil and put a forest back on top of it. But he, I think, is expecting that we would be looking at what would be appropriate planting of additional trees within that area to thicken it up to meet the intent of having that buffer between properties, if it's no longer right at the 8 meters. So with that, I understand is sort of the new information as of 2:30 this afternoon. I think had the understanding of it and was throwing together some slides. I might be appropriate to see with Mr. McLean if I've captured that correctly, if that is his current ask, in which case I think that would be not approving the excavation and regrading within the 8-meter buffer, but essentially these minor, what we would, I think could be handled as minor change to the DP, as essentially moving forward with it, simply removing those rocks that are highlighted with some staff oversight.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. And I just want to say that I do take public opinion very seriously, and we did have quite a slew of letters objecting to what people thought was going to happen, and I think there was a bit of misinformation or miscommunication, or things have changed slightly, and so I did go out to the site at noon today to with Mr. McLean to look at what he is actually proposing, and his foreman was on site as well. And from what I understand, by not taking some of that rock away, it will actually pose a danger to the homes that will be butted up against it. Is that correct?
Mayor McEwen, that is my understanding that the sort of nose of rock that I highlighted and tried to circle, there's some concern about it being too close to where the sort of home is. I'm not a geotechnical engineer, so I can't confirm whether that is a hazard or not. But that is a much more, it's a very limited scope of sort of removing those 2 knobs that are already sort of proud of the face of rock that's there. And that I understand that, and maybe Mr. McLean can explain this, but I understand that his engineer sort of stated that do that bit of work and it would be a stable face. So it would really just be remove those 2 knobs, and some of the loose rock that's already sitting, at the base in the photos. But that would be the extent of the work moving into that buffer area.
Thank you. And the foreman also confirmed that there would be no further blasting. It would be sort of a pecking to get rid of that rock.
Through the mayor, I would expect that. It's a relatively small area. It really, not a large area. There's really two kind of boulder-sized pieces they're talking about.
Right. Okay, thank you. Would Mr. McLean like to speak? Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I think when I came to council a couple of weeks ago, what the intention was to be able to go into the 8 meters and do some work. It wasn't to go into the 8 meters and clear it. I have been at this for 6 years now. I've had lots of opposition on the development as a whole, never so much as of this. But yeah, basically what I am hopeful to do is exactly what Bruce had mentioned, is take those 2 rocks out. That will allow us the clearance as far as height and distance away that the units can be. What we don't want to do, because we have to pre-make all these units, what we don't want to do is slow that process down, because there's 11 weeks to build a unit like that. They're currently already built, so we would have had to shrink them. This was a pretty simple solution to a pretty simple problem. I'm sorry that it's caused a lot of grief, especially to someone who's pregnant and going through it. I just had I have a 9-month-old. I get it. It's not fun. So I want to apologize for any kind of grief I've caused, but at the end of the day, it's a simple ask. It was always going to be a simple ask. And, I think all 4 of you, I don't know if Mark's visited the site, but, I know 4 of you have seen it. Doesn't look great. We want to go in there, clean it up. We do apologize for already protruding the 8 meters. Blasting is something that's easy to control on a big, huge site with no houses around. But when you have a lot of houses around, you can't have big blasts. Otherwise, we would break your china and stuff, and we don't want to do that. So we had to have little blasts all along the way. So of course, it kind of went into that a little bit. So do you guys have any questions for me on that?
Questions for Mr. McLean?
Does it seem like a pretty good compromise?
Councillor Hoare?
Just a quick one, Andrew. Does your geotech say that it's not stable, or is it more just for the clearance to, like, that little piece of those noses of rock, as Mr. Gregg referred to them? Are those not
No,
stable?
the
the way they are,
geotech,
but they
the
will
geotech
be?
has looked at it. He hasn't written his report yet, so I haven't seen what his report would be. The hope was that we could clean it up, so that the report is one thing he's mentioned, like clean up the face, and he is happy to sign off on it. You do have to have a certain meters high to be a certain meters deep, and so that was his his concern was the top of it. But I understand that the top has the roots and the dirt, and we don't want to touch that. We just want to kind of clean up the bulging rock that's kind of coming out the side. We've already kind of done it now. We're going to replant some trees in place of that. So it would just kind of clean up the face of it more so than anything else, and not hinder anybody else's property. It's still our property, right? It's just eventually buffer zone. So not hurting anybody. But.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't a geotech instability there. That
No, I mean, it's not a geotech instability. It is more, not yet anyway. So we're not there yet.
And I did see fissures in the rock, sort of noses, probably caused by roots.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
But that root system could actually crumble that rock at some point too.
Yeah. That's why we just want to go in there and just kind of clean it up. And Locars did a lot of work on the Weyerhaeuser site as far as rock stability and whatnot. So they know what they're doing.
Councillor Noel?
Just a couple comments. Obviously, it's a lively topic for the neighbors. Excuse me, and obviously lots of letters of concern. Could you mind going back to the photo with the gray pickup in there, just to rock face for a second, please? Just if there's people that have written letters that may have not gone to the site, they may or not care, but the reality is, on Friday when I got the agenda and I was reading it, and I was horrified because at one point there was a picture of a beautiful cedar leaning into another cedar. So I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on there. So I personally drove there on Friday morning, hoping not to run into the homeowners, but I snuck away. And it was very evident, what Andrew and the crew are running into, that they need to kind of clean a little bit of the rock. So I'm very happy to hear that you don't need to take your full 3 meters, but it's there. But again, those on the other side of that rock, there's not really much of a change. For most people that own homes in Ucluelet, we never know what our neighbors are going to do. Most of us have tree lots beside us, and things change. And I think what you're proposing today, I'm very delighted. I was very delighted when I went to the site to see that there was no big trees that were coming down. I don't know why those pictures were in there, but I think what it brought to light was the fact that the 5 of us were put in a position here that the community is wondering, what the heck are you guys doing up there? Why is this coming before us? So I think, in hindsight, it's a beautiful thing. It would have had probably been better to have a bit of a more thorough staff report in order to prevent some of the upsetting of the neighbors and some of many of your people that were supporting you in this application, that there wasn't any kind of malice going on here. But I think there was an opportunity to have a bit of a better staff report to have a clear understanding. So that's probably my biggest disappointment here, knowing that the rock face that we're looking at is potentially not going to change very much. And I'm happy to hear today that there's that one standing cedar on the very top, that it's going to remain, and which is a big win. So for the neighboring properties on the other side, this would be it was not going to affect them whatsoever. Their house level is probably lower than that truck that's sitting there, so they're looking at a hillside themselves. So I'm from what I've heard here tonight, I'm very supportive of this variance. I wasn't on Friday when I saw pictures, but to go on site to see it, and then with the few changes that you've done here today, I'm supportive of this variance.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. It made a big difference for me to go see it in person at noon today as well, to fully understand what Mr. McLean is planning to do. And that's why I think there was some misinformation or miscommunication about the intentions in the first place, which caused a lot of letter writing. But I think for safety reasons and just for the placement of those homes, I would be supportive of the development permit as well.
I would also like to ask either staff or council that if any homeowners in the area bring professionals onto my site, that I am notified and I give permission to that. I've heard that there's certain geotechs and arborists that have been on our property that we are liable for. I would just ask that you call us and ask us for that. I know there was an arborist report on a tree that's in our buffer area. That's still our property. It's not town property. It was done from your side. That's great. So an arborist didn't actually look at the root system of it. Okay, good. Just moving forward. I didn't know that. I just assumed. Yeah. Okay. So also, I know it's a topic of conversation. It is 33 affordable homes. It is great. We just want to continue on in a timely manner. So.
Yeah, I think there is a way forward to not delay this.
Yeah. So it doesn't sound like this needs to actually be a vote on, right? This is just something we'll have staff kind of come out, make a plan. We're already kind of 2 meters into it at certain points anyway, so we'll do some replanting and kind of move forward. Is that right?
I'll ask Mr. Harding if you can get rid of that picture, please. There is an option C in our package that approves the requested change to DP 20-11. Mr. Harding, would that be an option for us?
Yes, it would, Mayor.
All right. Would anyone be willing to entertain that? It's option C on page 23.
Could I just chime in before we?
Yes, Councillor Mafty. Yeah.
I know I'm not there. I'm somewhat familiar with the site, and I want to thank Councillor Noel and the other people who sent me photos. Really helped me sort of refresh my memory. I've been speaking with a number of people, some of whom are in the audience. The information that was presented to us this evening in my opinion, is a little bit different than the scenarios that I was discussing with various people. And I'm just wondering if, in the interests of goodwill and, gratitude for public engagement, which I think is really important, I'd like to just ask if there's anyone in the audience that, having heard Mr. McLean's explanation, justification, is still opposed to what's being discussed. I'd just like to hear from them. I understand that this isn't a public hearing, but I don't want to just dismiss the concerns of people. And if anyone has had their minds changed, I'd like to hear that as well. I certainly think that the information presented just now differs enough from what we were sort of informally discussing amongst ourselves for the last few days that it's a valid question.
Thanks, Councillor Mafty. Would the neighbours of the affected property like to speak? I have the direct neighbours. If you could go to the podium, please.
As they get up there, I know we have a stacked agenda, but I think public engagement is kind of the most important part of the process here. And I always hate when people take time out of their day, especially after having taken time out of their day to write a letter, and then they don't even get to speak. So I think it's well worth our time to hear what they have to say.
Okay, just your name and address, please.
Sure. So our name is Petra and Iman Makaremi, and we are the direct neighbors at 1796. And I just want to start by saying that we are fully in support of affordable housing and think this project is terrific. I think it's a great way of bringing municipal funding, provincial funding, and addressing a need that we all have, which is also why we had to buy a house, because there was nowhere else for us to rent. So we fully understand it. We don't want to cause any delays. I am concerned that this is framed as a misinformation. The proposal that the applicant has put in his own writing is not a problem of staff. It's his own letter that literally has circled the entire bluff and says that it is to be removed 8 meters horizontally, 3 meters vertically. That is what all the letters have been addressing. What we heard tonight is completely different. Mr. Egan, Andrew, called me today 4 hours ago. I was unfortunately just stepping into the hospital for a pregnancy appointment. And it was a very unclear proposal, and we just couldn't agree to anything over the phone because, I don't even know what we're discussing. And I think that's key here, that what we heard today is fundamentally different from what we heard in the written proposal. And my ask would be, and let's see, because we're literally reacting on the spot to something that's completely different. We want to see this succeed. We don't want any more delays, no more hurdles. And I want to be clear, this is not red tape. This is just holding a developer accountable to his own plans. They are already at 5 to 6 meters, which is confirmed by a surveyor. It's confirmed by an arborist, all from our side. That was a claim that was not fair. We never stepped onto the site, and it was the foreman who invited us onto the other side. So we have never stepped across to anyone's. We have remained highly collaborative throughout this whole process. We want to see this succeed. At the same time, I would ask, if we are voting on something that's not even in writing, they are already at 5 to 6 meters. That has not been brought forward by the applicant. That has not been acknowledged. And so why do we have bylaws? Question 1. Question 2, can we put this scope into writing so there is some guarantee, right? It's so concerning to hear the applicant say to the question of, is there instability, for the answer to be, we're not there yet. So are we going to wait until we we're not going to blast, we're going to excavate further until we create an instability? At what point do we say enough is enough? And we are absolutely open to this. I'm not saying no to it. It's just, it needs to be in writing, and there needs to be some sort of container, guarantee, oversight, something. We cannot all just say, yay, go ahead, because this has changed by 8 meters horizontally, 3 meters vertically, and that is a significant change. Would be my point. As to the point of Snackaway, I have emailed you all personally to come and visit the site from both the applicant side and from ours. So I have no idea where that comment came from. We have been inviting you all, including Councillor Noel, to come and visit the site. We have not been anything but collaborative, and nobody is sneaking away. there must be a report from Gibson's, which is the previous company. They have completed their work in December 2024, to our understanding, to completion, and at that point, that slope was still graded. More material has been removed. Again, magically, no oversight, and now we're just dealing with the consequences. So what we see is just continuous, taking away on or encroachment on the buffer under the guise of safety or under the guise of instability. And we all know that that particular piece of rock is complex. It has already been a challenge. It has been a time-consuming challenge, a cost-consuming challenge, and going further into it poses risks. If it truly is those two little squares that were or squares, circles, whatever, that were circled, I could see that being a solution, but we still need to acknowledge that it is in the buffer, which is legally protected. So to just kind of wave that away and say, oh, we're going to clean it up, is, in my view, unacceptable. Anything you would add?
That's it. I just want to come back to some of the comments that made here.
If you can just speak into the microphone, please. Thanks.
Yeah, some of the comments were unfair. Sneaking away was never a thing. We had a medical appointment in Port Alberni. We had to go, and the applicant
clarity,
just called us at 12:30 today.
Did you say sneaking away regarding my comment, sir?
That's what you said.
Okay, no,
yes.
I said I was sneaking away. I didn't say you were sneaking away. I snuck away.
Okay.
Just
Thank
for
you.
clarity.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
That's it. Yes, Petra mentioned most of these things, and I'm sure other neighbors also have other things to say, so we won't
We
take
have
much
direct
time.
neighbors who are here. There is at least 7 people that came to speak. So if you could hear a little more, we would love that opportunity. And we, again, truly appreciate your willingness for public input. We think it's critical, and I think you see that it resonates with anybody from homeowners to prospective homeowners to realtors to people that rent, people that own. It's like across the board. This is a topic that has to do with public trust, and we truly appreciate you being open to the feedback. So thank you so much.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you for speaking. Would any other neighbors like to speak? You can go to the podium, please. Just your name and address first, please.
Connor Woodard at 1340 Pine Road. I guess that's a little bit loud. Yeah, thank you so much. I also really want to thank you guys for the opportunity for public input here. It's really meaningful, especially I did watch the recording from 2 weeks ago, and to see that there was a possibility that there wouldn't be public input, even a question of, do we even need to ask the public about this bylaw violation? I'm very grateful that we have an opportunity to talk about it today. So just wanted to start with that. So this is actually like the second time something has been dramatically misrepresented, right? So originally this 8 meters down, or 8 meters across, 3 meters deep was the original proposal, and that was a misrepresentation of what has actually been going on there, which has been cutting very dramatically into the buffer. I know it was said earlier that it was 1 to 2 meters. No, it's 2 to 3, almost universally around that buffer, right? That's almost half. Okay, and sure, you could plant more trees to make it a little bit thicker, but this is generally pointing to a culture of development that I've seen here, which is basically asking forgiveness over permission, right? And so now we are seeing that there was a proposal submitted to ask permission, and that was great. And then when we all wrote letters in response to that, which was that it's not granting permission to the extent that we have the capability to do so, now all of a sudden it's changed dramatically, and that's cool. I agree that concession and maybe those small nulls is something that we could concede on. But I also agree that we absolutely need it in writing, because in general, there's been a culture of, oh, we chipped away too much. Oops, now it's unstable. Now we have to propose for more. Oops, now it's unstable. Now we have to do some more. And instead of holding developers accountable, we're actually just rewarding them for violating bylaws. right? And so they get concession after concession for actually breaking the rules. So I really echo Petra's earlier question of like, what are the bylaws for? Like if they're not going to be respected as all. Just to give some context here, I did live in that unit, Petra and Iman. My partner and I were looking for a place to live because our landlords were moving in, and so we had to do the classic Yuki shuffle, find a place to live. We were looking at Lot 13, hoping that we would be able to qualify for one of those places. We are not against affordable housing at all. We were in the situation that was really needed, that it was not going to be prepared in time. It was not going to be finished in time. So Petra and Iman actually homed us for months while we were looking for another place to stay in this wonderful community that we call home now. And because of that, we were able to purchase our first home ever, and it is in this wonderful and lovely community. So this is really, really important to us, not just because they were they helped us, support us in that journey to stay in this community, but also because we were directly affected by the affordability of housing in this area. So this is really important. We want this project to succeed. We really, really do. I'm just very aware that that it has generally been a asking forgiveness over permission culture, and I'm so grateful that we were allowed to speak today in response to that. Just one more point here. Got my notes. Thanks for your patience. You know what? I'm going to pass the mic. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for your comments.
Hi, Brent Halfyard, 1722 Rainforest Lane. And no notes, I was going to speak from my heart and my gut. Petra left a note on my door, and I thought, okay, I want to know what's going on here, because I'll start with, I agree with this, there's no forgiveness. They basically we live across from that eyesore, Rainforest Drive and Marine. We all know that horrific eyesore that I have to tell everyone comes to my house, what is that nightmare over there, right? Everyone at the council opposed a larger development, but you guys pushed it through, right? And it feels like us as community members, as taxpayers, we come last. You bring us here, right? It's nice to have us talk, but our voices just don't seem to be heard. So in our property, we just paid $3,000 for a tree fall, or some of those trees in the storm from other properties that I had to pay for. The developer ran away to the Philippines. This is very similar. They went over the buffer. They didn't care. Oh, well, now it's dangerous. You've taken away too much. More trees got to come down. So my thinking is they've already gone over 2 to 3 meters over the buffer. It shouldn't even be a conversation. They've already breached it. The buffer is the buffer. Why is it there? Why are the bylaws there? We moved here for the trees, the community, the nature, and when that's destroyed, you can't get it back, right? It's old growth forest. The rocks are not unsightly. They've gone over the buffer, and it should not be done. Case closed. So listen to your community members. Listen to us, the taxpayers, the people who live here first. We should always come first and feel heard and listened to. So I oppose for those reasons, and I support Petra and Iman. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. And I believe the structure you were referring to was going to be our medical clinic at one point, the one that is in your neighborhood. And so we didn't push it through. We were really hoping that we would get a new medical center, and that the owner of that property was willing to do that for us. Unfortunately, Island Health chose a different location. And here we are. I drive by it all the time. I know. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Okay, name and address, please.
Yep, Sarah Gray, and it's number 91782 St. Jack's Boulevard. Quite a poignant moment to come on from what I would describe as an actual eyesore to a claim of an eyesore in the form of nature, or as we've talked about it today, a knoll of rock. I echo similar thoughts that folks have shared in terms of appreciating Mayor and Council's willingness to hear public input. However, I would question the value of that if you're not going to listen to valid concerns and communication from Ucluelet community members. This should be a community where decisions are made from input, and that input is responded to appropriately and is actually listened to. I actually think it's quite insulting to sit here in the audience today and hear comments such as letters being sent in response to misinformation. I personally wrote a letter in response to the development request, which did reference eyesore. I believe it also referenced a claim of hazardous trees, which I believe is actually not the case. Also hearing comments around safety concerns, yet we're yet to hear of any report that claims that there is actually evidence of safety concerns if the no was left intact. Secondly, comment around whether we care or not to have walked past the property. I walk past that property multiple times a day on my dog walk and have watched slowly as the blasting has taken away parts of rock. I have waited for trucks to come in and out with my dog. So it is something that I care about. I care about this community. I care about what's happening. And if anything, this experience has shown me that I need to care a little bit more to show up, because the greatest fear from this experience is that we cannot trust that decisions that are made are going to be held accountable for folk not to go into buffer zones, that we are going to need to show up, we're going to need to be here, we're going to need to continue to make sure that developers don't breach bylaws, and we're going to continue to show up and be listened to. And whether you want to actively engage with us and action based on what the community shares is up to you. But quite frankly, I'm going to be disappointed if this is the continuation that we're going to go in. You say you care about public engagement. Well, we're here, we're engaged, we're concerned, we're sharing. This is a precedent that you're setting, and I think it's evident that it's a dangerous precedent that's going to impact more than just the neighbouring units. So, thank you.
Thanks for your comments.
I'm Rich Ronyetz. I live at 1769 Rainforest Lane, in lot 18. I live beside Sean. He's lot 1, I believe, and then there's 2, and then 3, which is Iman and Petra. I have a recording of that awful digger that's been digging for 6 months since Gibson's was finished with their site. I've complained to Andrew 6 months ago in writing. I've complained to the operator in person. Nothing's been done about that screeching rust bucket. You can hear it from your house, I'm pretty sure, every time it moves. We've got a timeline. That's all I'm going to give you. I was going to play you the sound, but I'll forget it. So the summer of 2024, blasting notice was given in my area 2 weeks after blasting started. They came to my house and looked around, asked my cleaner to come in 2 weeks after blasting started. That was their surveying of the footprint. August of 2024, after blasting started, my cleaner notified me of one blast that blew her socks off while she was cleaning the upper suite. She heard rock fragments hitting the roof. A little overblast, apparently. The first blaster that was hired acknowledged this overblast. And then we move into December 2024. Gibson's finished excavating the entire site to the green space boundary of 8 meters. They had nice, safe, sloped grade of the northeast rock bluffs, which are 8 meters high. It was all finished. So what happened? Apparently there wasn't enough room to put in what they promised. Apparently they didn't notice that the rock or the site was sloped by 8 meters. This was a surprise. That was echoed by the Gibson's Excavating Company. So we got into the new contractor. We went through that. Town arborist in the spring of 2025 walked through the site and flagged danger trees to be removed. They were removed immediately. May 7th, bylaw infraction reported by myself. The contractor excavator was found to be removing more green space below lot 18. Flagging, when I went out to check, was non-existent. It had been removed and the digging had gone beyond the buffer perimeter flags. So I briefly engaged with him. He said he was doing work to remediate the fractured rock that they overblasted again and again. Instead of remediating this on Andrew's property with a retaining wall, they decided it was better to excavate out remaining trees and green space, old growth, to stabilize the slope. They're well into the 8-meter buffer zone for that entire east perimeter. I don't know about the rest, but I'm pretty sure on the other side, on the park side, beside the path, they were removing trees. Okay, so June 4th. This is months after the original arborist told them which trees to remove, and they were removed. 10 to 15 more trees were felled. July 15th, last week, 2 to 3 more trees removed and felled. July 17th, 10 minutes before their weekend break, the excavator started removing part of the green space that we're talking about today, the knoll. Pre-meeting, very interesting. There's been no hurry to finish this worthwhile project. We're all in favor of it. Out-of-town crews work a maximum of 4 days per week. Rainforest Lane and Drive is a desirable neighborhood for guests and residents. It's a sanctuary. Pretty sure every visitor and guest is in favor of preserving the green space between the houses and your houses, between you and your neighbor. The homes, the 33 homes, 31 homes, whatever they are, do they want houses looking down at them? No, they want a green space with a forest buffer. And how is Andrew proposing to rebuild that old growth forest that's been removed? With a couple alder trees? Like, seriously? There needs to be large fines per year of growth on each tree removed beyond the arborist walkthrough. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for your comments. And we have one more speaker.
So I was trying to remember.
Just your name and address, please.
Connor Woodard, 1340 Pine Road. Actually, when I was staying with Petra and Iman, they were out of town, and there was some damage, some leaking in the crawl space that was pretty severe. And I was trying to remember. Actually, it was Councillor Noel that hooked us up with a dehumidifier, a serious one from the Rent-It Center that was able to really preserve and help out, and even extended it over the weekend because it wasn't quite finished, and just did what needed to be done to make sure that the property was safe. And I really appreciated that, and I know that Petra and Iman really appreciated that too. And I was trying to remember why you were familiar, and it's because you helped me, yeah. And I don't mean to be overly adversarial, but then I also wondered where the equipment to do this job is being rented from, right? And if that is not a conflict of interest, and that maybe that's something that should be self-identified. Because removing this project in that original proposal, which we know that has changed now, right? But that would not speed up the process. It doesn't seem that would speed up the process. It seems like that would extend the development time for this. And I was very curious about like the enthusiasm to just push this through without any public opinion, right? Very, very curious about that. So I wanted to bring that up.
We did want public opinion. That's what we decided on at our last council meeting.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah.
Councillor Noel?
Well, thanks for that. And I do now was wondering why I recognized you. Yes, and I'm glad you had a good experience. So I don't have any equipment there. You know, Councillor Mafty asked me that question too. It's a very small town, and I have two businesses, and everyone in this room is my customer. You know, so for full disclosure, I have a porta potty and 3 fence panels there. Okay. None of that equipment's mine. I haven't had gravel trucks there, and it's unfortunate that, respectfully, that and I get that from time to time. So it's not just you. That's a normal thing. People think that I'm committing my time and jeopardizing my family and the rest of it because somehow I'm trying to make another $1,000 on something. That's so far from the case. You know, I'm born and raised here, so I understand what Petra and everyone is saying here. And the guy, sorry, I didn't get your name there with beside. Those bloody trees, I know what you're talking about, and that stuff shouldn't be happening. That's factual. You know, these retentions. But when I talk specifically regarding this, I feel it's a little bit different. You know, and I'm one of 5 here, so I'm always going to just say what I have to say. Some people don't say anything at this table, and we want to hear their voice. And unfortunately, I just think it's important to just take your stance. I respect everybody in the room, and I'm here to give my opinion of things, and I also represent a sector of the community that I speak with, and so I do believe that you know, my stance is important. But I do appreciate that you brought up the feeling that somehow that's going on, and I can just say that I'm always very mindful of that. And I can't apologize for my aggressive behavior as a business guy. I see opportunities and I go for it. It's me or some out-of-town guy. So I'm a local guy trying to keep local initiatives. So when you need a dehumidifier, one's available. And if I need to give it to you at half price, didn't know it was them, I'm here for the community. So I'm not in any way trying to sugarcoat this, and my life would be quite easy not being on this table. I just felt coming to this table was an important thing in order to give a different tone to the other 4 that are on the table. So I do appreciate you bringing that up.
Hey, thank you so much for hearing it. Yeah, I just wanted to check to see if that was maybe something that we needed to look closer at. So thank you.
Thanks for your comments. And we have one more speaker.
Oh, hi. Louise at 333 Norris Street. Very nervous public speaker, but I'm here. I am hopefully going to be buying a home at First Light. So I as well would like to see the forest buffer maintained as well. That's part of the reason why we chose a lot. But I also hear a lot of people worrying about old growth. To be honest, most of Vancouver Island has been logged several times over. I don't know that those trees that are being removed when people say old growth, if those are actually old growth or not. Obviously, it's something within the forest buffer, the 8 meters, that should be maintained as per what was originally in the plans. And I do understand that a lot of people wrote in and are mad. I would be scared too if I saw those original plans. I'm not sure why those were probably left at your doorstep if they don't actually show what needs to be done. It seems like there was a lot of misinformation, and that would have scared me as well. But I also saw a lot of in the letters, as much as we want affordable housing, just not in my backyard. That's how it made me feel. And do I want people looking over me as a homeowner? My neighbors I'm going to be able to look in and see them eating dinner. I don't care. I just want a home. I want to be a homeowner in this community. And there's not a lot of opportunity. And this project gives me the opportunity to buy a home here where I've made my life, where I have my business. You are all my customers. And sorry, I'm getting really emotional. We've been waiting. We're told that we would be moving in Christmas 2023. So we've been waiting a very, very long time. The 33 families that want to live here. And we don't care what it looks like. We just want homes. Sorry. Also, I'm sure when Rainforest Lane and Rainforest Drive were developed, the neighbors in that area had seen it as a beautiful old growth forest. And it was dug up by excavators and excavating companies to build homes for you. And I don't want to see the forest buffer taken away, but also just wanted to represent one of the 33 families that are waiting for a home. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. Petra?
I fully want to acknowledge what we just heard, and I fully sympathize, and I want to make it absolutely clear that we do not want any delays. We have personally been involved with this since Monday. This project has been extended by 6 months in the past council meeting. In the same meeting, we only learned about this amendment. So I want to make it very clear, this is not about not in my backyard. This is about absolutely let's move it forward. And let's do it so that we don't extend it. Because last summer we had the excavators coming to our home for 2 months working on that tiny little project. If you spend 2 months on this knoll, this is extending everything one time over. I would like to also point out that those 2 lots are number 29 and 30. In 10 minutes or whenever we wrap this topic up, the council will be voting on removing number 29 from the affordability clause. It is now scheduled to be a rental affordable home. The next motion is to remove that particular property from the affordability clause, meaning that lot is to be, and I can quote this, it's recommended to be released from the very affordability clause altogether and sold at market price, pending your vote today, to provide, and this is a quote, additional cash flow to offset higher costs during the development. So I know there is a lot of talk about affordable housing. This very lot that we are talking about is being released from being affordable, and anyone can come and buy it if it goes through the council. So I just want to make that clear. And again, we are not against it, but clearly if it was a rental property, it is not yet purchased. There is no buyer. There is no family waiting for this home. So that home has flexibility, right? Like it can be fit into the, I had this written so I can be a lot more eloquent than I'm being right now. If I can find it. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say, that this is all really misleading. We are all being painted as the bad guys for not wanting affordable housing. It is the contrary. We want affordable housing. We want guarantees that if this work is permitted, which again, I am not completely against, I don't even know what we're discussing because it's not in writing, there is no measurements, there is no plan. We're all just spitballing on the spot. So if we can get that in writing and have a guarantee that this will not, as the applicant has just mentioned, like we're not there yet, it's not unstable yet, I think we need to have very clear guarantees around what is being permitted, if anything, today. And there needs to be a clear line so that exactly what all of our neighbors are attesting to, there is a pattern of disrespect for bylaws, of what I would classify as bad faith, because if the whole attitude is, oh, we're at 5 meters, we apologize. Is apologies good enough for infringing a bylaw? I would argue it is unacceptable and it is not. And I think that's where I would leave it at, that we need some guarantees. We need oversight, and I would, to the contrary, want to express great gratitude for the district because they are the only ones who actually have shown any care and any attempt at saying, okay, what is actually happening here? What were the plans? What were the commitments? And an actual attempt at keeping the developer accountable to his own plans. So again, not red tape. It is the applicant's own plans that we are trying to hold him accountable to and that we are all referencing. None of this is to do with any of the prospective buyers or actual buyers. We have also lived next to an active work site for 4 years. We want to see this completed, not only for us. We have actually gone out of our way to engage people from First Light because we were sure that this is actually not communicated to them. So this is not us saying not in our backyard. This is us saying there are no sites. We are all on the same side. We all want to see this progress. We all want to see this completed. We just want to do it safely. And as Sarah wonderfully put it, there is no safety concern. All we are discussing, in Andrew's own words, is an eyesore that he claims provides no screening. We have an arborist clearly saying that this is critical to maintain. And as for an eyesore, he blasted too far, created what he calls an eyesore. If he goes further into that rock, he will only uncover more rock and potentially risk destabilizing trees that are actually crowning that knoll. So there is no less of an eyesore. There are normal procedures that are geotechnically sound. Nice retention wall. There is something that's called, and this is where I'm not a geotech engineer, but there is something called sculpted or architectural shotcrete, which are all visually appropriate options that are open to the applicant to engage. It is not up to me to recommend them, but if his self-described issue is aesthetics, then why are we all talking about us not wanting affordable housing when his own claim is that it's just not aesthetic enough? That is the most subjective and empty claim that this entire amendment is based on. And I will leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Petra. Mr. McLean, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to kind of go back to Bruce's original thing. Do we need a vote on this, or is it just the two circles that we have of rock? Do we dealing just with staff, and obviously the punishment for going into a bylaw, going into an 8-meter buffer, is a replanting schedule as part of your subdivision. So there is a punishment for doing that. We will replant trees. That is the punishment. We would rather not pay to replant trees. We would have rather not gone into the 8-meter buffer. I can only control so much not being on site every day, standing at a buffer zone. Can't afford to do that. Can't afford to pay anyone to do that. We are building affordable housing. Everyone says that they're pro affordable housing. You still have to build it affordably and be able to sell it affordably. You can't have someone standing on an 8-meter buffer all day saying, you're at this buffer zone. We had it flagged, we had it fenced, we had all that. It has obviously been 6 some odd years it's been 3 years since we flagged it. So it's just gone. I just need to know from Bruce if we do actually need a vote. I don't think we do. I think we just want to clean up the rock face. That's really all we're asking for. And I, again, didn't mean to cause all this havoc. I just want to kind of move forward if we can.
I think what we need is more clarification. As the neighbor states, what was proposed in this amended development permit is not exactly what Mr. McLean is asking to do now. So I think we just need to clean up the language of this report and bring it back to council. Mr. Gregg.
I think to the question of the vote, I believe the council had sort of focused on, and Mr. Harding had noted that the third option in the options in the report, that it could be, obviously it's council's motion, it could be amended. So rather than referencing the excavation and regrading, it could reference what is being proposed now. And I think the way to document that would be to take the photograph with the red circles of the knoll. So if it's changing it to approve the removal of those rock knolls and have those attached to it, that is a fairly quick amendment. I'm raising this, and why I brought sort of the 11th hour changes in and describe them. Usually that is not best practice to be sort of doing this on the fly, but we're just trying to avoid having it to come back with another report and take more time, given that everything we understand is that time is of the essence with this development and trying to get it finished so people can be housed.
But I think the wording could be cleaned up and brought back next Tuesday at our council meeting. It's rather than doing it on the fly right now.
Absolutely, that is council's purview, and having a special meeting so quick is very handy. That would be a minor delay, so we absolutely could do that.
Mr. Harding, is that something that you would suggest?
Thank you, Mayor. I think it was just so everyone can see clarification. I appreciate staff and the developer meeting this afternoon and coming up with a solution. But I think as council has 2 special meetings next week, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, we can easily then clarify what the proposed changes are, and we can have a report back to you for sure Tuesday, but if not Thursday.
Great, thank you. And I agree with the neighbors that it should be in writing what exactly the developer is proposing to do. So, can I make a motion to refer this back to staff? Do we need something more than that, Mr. Chow?
Through me, the council, refer back to staff will be sufficient.
Okay, I'll make that motion. Would someone like to second?
I'll second that.
Councillor
I'll
Anderson.
second.
Okay, Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion?
Can I just chime in briefly?
Yes, Councillor Mafty.
Yeah, sorry to just blurt it out there. I can see myself, but I can't see myself as I appear on the screen. I just want to thank everyone who spoke. I understand fully how invested people are. And I just wanted to summarize for my benefit, but maybe for the collective benefit, what my perspective is, and it's changed a little bit on this issue. I think it's pretty clear that people are fed up of the, ask forgiveness rather than permission. I also think it's pretty clear that people value their green space, and I don't mind saying that I am pretty aligned with both of those camps in general. So I have a lot of empathy for the people who brought those concerns to the table. Having said that, I'm also a pretty pragmatic guy. I know that there were some points raised about, what's a buffer? What is it there for? I think it's in the name. The buffer it's a buffer. It's a cushion. It's not a strict delineation. It's not a property line. It's a buffer. And I think that we all just need to be pragmatic. We need to be realistic about what's involved in the scale of development that this project is seeing, and to push into a buffer a little bit as circumstances dictate, and then to revegetate that buffer later. I think that's what the buffer is there for, is to make sure that we're not doing this across the property line. And Lord knows, as a council, we've seen some of those complaints even in recent memory. So it seems to me that what Mr. McLean has communicated with council and with the community this evening is quite a bit different than what a lot of us were looking at even a few days ago. And my take on it is that if we can have it crystal clear in writing that what we're talking about is what was discussed tonight, then my feeling is that it would be very difficult to imagine a scenario where we're going to see, give an inch, take a mile in a couple months. So I would tend to support the idea of clarifying and codifying what's been discussed tonight. And I think that, unless something drastic comes to light, I'd be inclined to support that moving forward. And I hope that people who wrote in opposition can appreciate that what we're discussing tonight is really quite reasonable within the scope of trying to build this many units on a lot like that. And yeah, let's see what happens at the meeting when we receive something a little bit more formal. But I think we need to be realistic, and I think what we're seeing tonight is a lot more realistic than what I and a bunch of other people were worried about even a few days ago. But I would also say to Mr. McLean that it's pretty clear how much the community values their trees, their space, their green space, their buffers, and how much they value open and honest communication with all developers, even those that are giving us something that we desperately need, affordable housing.
Thanks, Councillor Mafty. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this discussion. And you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to. We'll just take a 5-minute break while Councillor Anderson leaves the room. Oh, lovely. Thank you. All right, we'll reconvene at 5:30. Moving on to reports, we have several reports on the agenda today. The first report is Lot 13, request to amend rental housing agreement. It will be presented by Mr. Gregg, Director of Community Planning.
Thank you, and through the mayor. I'll just, in the simplest terms, the request is to make some changes as this was originally proposed to be. It's a 33 lot, affordable, attainable subdivision. The original proposal was that 22 of the properties would be attainable sales. Those ones are underway for Euclid households to purchase, with BC Housing being involved under the Affordable Home Ownership Program. The other 11 lots were proposed to be affordable rentals, and so there's a housing agreement, that, covenant that's in place that would be registered on 11 of the lots. And that basically sets the income of a qualified renter at 80% median income or less, and it stipulates what the rents would be. And that 80% median income was what was originally, all of Lot 13 was set aside some 20 years ago to be affordable, and it was originally defined at that level. So this is sort of the more affordable piece that was proposed. And so in a really briefly, staff are recommending supporting the proposed change by Mr. McLean. It is, not lightly that we'd recommend that, because 2 of the rentals would come out of that deeply, most affordable piece. But essentially, it's shifting so that instead of having 22 attainable sales and 11 affordable rentals, it's shifting 2 of the units, that they would arguably still be attainable. They would not be under the AHOP program, but they still would be priced at a level where Euclid households, I think, very likely are going to be the buyers. They'd be the most affordable new homes in town, certainly on small lots. And what this is different than what had been proposed at the last time council saw this. But I think the advantage of this is it leaves that affordability for the rentals on the other 9 units, which is extremely valuable because it's a whole different demographic. That sort of level of affordability could be a single parent with kids or a retired person or others in the community. And so there's a lot of value in retaining that. And so still, just to be really clear, all 33 units will still be purchased or still be constructed. It's not reducing the size of the development. It's that shift. And the difference of allowing 2 of the units to come out of the rental housing agreement is, as Mr. McLean has suggested, it basically allows some additional cash flow funding from selling those units as just market units that would help with the costs of the construction and the development. I'll see if there's any questions from council there.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. Yeah, the report seems fairly straightforward. The sale of the 2 units would offset some of the overages that Mr. McLean has experienced because of the length of time it's taken to get this project moving. And so any questions for staff? Mr. Noel or Councillor Noel?
Just a question. If we were to proceed with this, what kind of timeline would it take in staff time in order to execute that?
Through the mayor, it's an excellent question. I think that the immediate indication of support for the concept is something that obviously assists Mr. McLean knowing what sort of the path is going forward. So whether that includes marketing those 2 units or when that could commence, obviously the subdivision would have to be complete before he has a property to sell. But so there's that piece. But in terms of the amending of the agreement, it's a covenant. Mr. McLean's lawyer would provide the amendment. But because it's also part of the housing agreement, and there's a housing agreement bylaw adopted, we would provide an amending bylaw to bring to council. So not sure if, when we have a couple of special meetings in this next week here, I don't know that we have time because there's a whole bunch of things that need to go into those meetings as well. But certainly I would think that it would be, the next council meeting would be September 2nd. Likely we would have the bylaw there for 3 readings of council. So certainly that could be cleaned up or taken care of far before the actual subdivision is complete and the units are there.
Any other questions for Mr. Gregg? Councillor Hoare?
This might be a question for Mr. McLean. Why these 2 units? 29 and 31?
31.
Just curious.
They're, oh, sorry, because of delivery schedules. So they're just we start at the back and the front and we work our way. So they're just sooner there, kind of quicker there. The rentals we're always going to come last. We wanted to house the people that have been hanging out with us for as long as they have. So yeah, these, they fit, they were kind of squished between other purchases. So that was the reason. I think you saw the letter of opinion from Judy Gray. Bruce had reiterated it. These are still attainable pricing. I mean, the whole thing that we built was these are affordable in nature. They're small homes on small lots. That's, we weren't trying to, do any kind of weird stacked housing. So it definitely helps move this thing forward. Again, it's something that we think is still great for the community. We are going to market off, within the district, within the West Coast. We still can sell to anybody without the AHOP rules, but definitely not going to put them on realtor.ca and look for second dwellers kind of thing.
That's good information. Thanks for that. Councillor Anderson, any questions?
No, I can make the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, unless someone else has something to add.
Councillor Mafty, did you have any questions?
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think you're muted.
I'm so sorry. I was just hoping for a little bit of clarification here, just reading the report. Let me just find the section where it specifies a list price for the units, and I'm just wondering how that was determined and how we can be sure of that. So page 3, top of page 3, it says at $540,000, the 2 market units would be priced well below other single-family homes on the market in New Clulet. Where did that 540 come from? Just hoping to have that put on the record.
I think that came from Judy Gray, did it not?
Yes, correct. That was an opinion of value from a letter that Judy sent into this report as well. I'm also a realtor, and I would agree with that's about as high as we could go with those units. So they won't be more.
Does that
you don't think it'll be more, or you're in a position to commit that it won't be more?
No, I mean, that's what they will be marketed at. I don't expect that we get 5 buyers bidding up a price is how I would assume that doesn't happen. But no, that's Judy's opinion of value. I trust that. That's what they'll be marketed at.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Mafty?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Anderson, please go ahead.
All right, I will move the council support the request by ACMC Holdings to amend the covenant and rental housing agreement for the Lot 13 subdivision to reduce the number of lots that would be subject to the affordable rental housing agreement from 11 to 9.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Further discussion? No? Seeing none. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Mafty, did you have something further?
I was just going to jump in and just sort of justify my vote, which will be against. I understand the math. I understand the logic, but this is an instance where I just feel like we keep being confronted with these scenarios that sort of ask us to bear in mind the realities of the market, and I have a lot of sympathy for that. But I feel like developers are in the best position to understand and predict the vagaries of real estate markets. That's not to say anyone has a crystal ball, but this just strikes me as something that is difficult to support. It's nothing personal, and it's something that I think is affecting everyone. But it's hard to just sort of keep approving projects and then sort of scaling back our expectations of those projects. So I just wanted to put that out there before I vote.
Thanks, Councillor Mafty. Did you get the unredacted report that was sent to us with the overages?
I got everything up until this afternoon. So yes, I unless something was sent out like immediately prior to the meeting, yes, I do have that.
It's not part of the report because these numbers were redacted in the report.
No, as an email, correct?
Yes. Okay,
Yes.
good. I just wanted to make sure you did receive that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you.
Just like to thank council and mayor and staff for everything to move this forward. Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you next week with some red circles around 2 rocks.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Good luck.
The second report on the agenda is DP 25-03, 1682 Peninsula Road, and it will be presented by Mr. Gregg, Director of Community Planning.
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. A little simpler one, ice cream. This is development permit and business license application for mobile vending. It's on the Heartland Kitchen property. I think everyone's familiar with the location. I just point out that the siting is best sort of seen on page 121 of your agenda. And then also the photos on page 112 show the sort of character of the bowler style ice cream trailer that's being proposed. So I think it's a fairly straightforward application. If there's any questions, I can certainly try to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Gregg. And it is part of our licensing bylaw that all mobile vendor licenses have to be approved by council, correct?
That is correct. It's the one type of business license which our bylaw says comes to council.
Great. Questions for Mr. Gregg? Councillor Hoare?
This may be a quick one, and you may or may not have the answer. The applicant might know it. It's the question about washrooms. It says they can use the Heartwood ones, but Heartwood is only open till 1 p.m. and Bestie is planning to be open until 7 or 9. So, just, access.
I think the applicant seems to be signaling a wish to I think my understanding, while the restaurant is open, it's available. If it's at offset hours, there are other public washrooms that are within a block.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was part of what was in the application. But if there's anything to add? Nope, that captures it, I think.
I think that answered the question. Would someone like to make the 2 recommendations? And they should be read separately, please.
I can do that. I will move the council authorize the Director of Community Planning to issue development permit 25-03 to allow mobile vending at 1682 Peninsula Road.
Councillor Noel seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I will further move that council authorize the issuance of a business license for the mobile vending at Bestie Ice Cream Co. at 1682 Peninsula Road.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Thank you.
Delicious.
Can't wait. The third report on the agenda is Matterson Reservoir Property, Subdivision and Land Swap, and it will also be presented by Mr. Gregg, Director of Community Planning.
Here, okay, there we are. So through the mayor, this report brings a couple pieces for council direction and recommended motions on. And so I'm going to sort of step through some of the pieces of this. Council has had some discussion about this. I think it was back in February where we got started on this in earnest. Actually, last September was a piece of it with this discussions with the school district around a potential working together, swapping some land. But I'll cover a little bit of the background. So there is in your report, there's a letter of intent that is between the school district and the District of Ucluelet, describing basically just working together on some mutually beneficial property alignment, and that has been to the Board of Education and has been signed by the school district. So that is one piece that we're seeking council direction or authorization of that. Also, they have provided a letter of support for an upcoming grant application, which the municipality's been working on, and as well, they're requesting a letter of support because they also may be chasing grants or looking for capital funds. So, because on one piece, and I'll describe it in a moment, they also are looking on their land of doing some housing development particularly for employees, for teachers. And then the other piece is a couple pieces around the subdivision of the land. And so that's the slide that's on the screen here. I'll just sort of step through that a bit. The first piece and sort of step one, well, I'll back up and talk about the municipal property, which is highlighted in black, and there's two parts of it. One being the Big Beach portion, and the other is the Matterson Reservoir portion. And so those are the remainder of District Lot 281. So the red dashed square is essentially the district lot is a term. It's a surveying and land titles term around chunks of land that were basically a quarter section of land or 160 acres. It's a half-mile square. And so originally, this early surveys of Ucluelet had sort of this grid of these pieces. So all of District Lot 281, our understanding is at one point was just owned by the municipality. And it has been subdivided over a number of times since. And so the first piece that came off, and I'm not going to go through them all, but just for example, this is a portion, this is the survey plan. So you'll see this is Matterson, and this triangle here in Short Road, that is the Ocean Park Villa Apartments. So this was 1980 when this subdivision basically sort of dedicated a little bit of road and sliced off that triangle as a separate lot, which was then sold. And then this DL 281, the little note on either side there, that was the remainder. That's the corner of the big square, which was sort of owned by the municipality. And so what's happened over the years is, so that's that Short Road piece out here with Ocean Park Villa. Then there was a subdivision of all of Victoria Road, extension of Marine Drive. Then the subdivision that created all of Sunset Point and the Ridge and Lot 16, all of that was coming off the UCC, Blackrock, all of that was part of this. What's left is the legal description is the remainder of District Lot 281, which is the two black highlighted pieces, Big Beach Park and the Matterson Reservoir portion. Legally, those are one entity. They're hooked because on the survey plans, literally there's a hook that connects them. So that's one title. So the first step of this would be dedicating Big Beach Park on a plan of subdivision as parkland. And that essentially basically sets it aside as park. That's never come up prior to this. Fairly straightforward process. What that does is it leaves the Matterson Reservoir portion as a separate remainder, which is much clearer for, it's basically a preparatory step for the discussion of subdivision and trading land with the school district. And so that would leave the remainder of Lot 281 as the Water Tower Hill. I'm going to pause there and see, are there any questions on that first step from council?
Any questions for Mr. Craig? Councillor Noel?
So for some clarity there, looking at the map, on the top red, the school district lot, and I'm just trying to understand, is it that with the switch, the school district is optimistic that they're able to get funding to build some staff housing in that particular chunk of road where the BMX track, is that layman terms?
Yes, and I can sort of show that in a little more detail here. So what's highlighted in red there, outlined in red, that is the municipally owned piece that what's on the screen. So it's so So again, so Short Road comes here. There is some contours on this map. It doesn't show terribly well, but sort of it's quite steep, the slope behind the properties that front onto Victoria. And then the hilltop is gentler. And then so right where I'm hovering the cursor there, that's the existing water tower, and that's the track that goes down. So the BMX and sort of park that's down on Matterson is sort of in that triangle, and that's part of the school district lands. So these two sketches are attached to the letter of intent with the school district. And so the one on the left, the first one, it shows sort of area 1 and area 2. And so those were the pieces, they're equal in area. Those would be swapped between the municipality and the school district. So we give a piece to the school district. You'll note that the high school running track cuts across the corner of the district property. So they will now own the land that the running track sits on. And then this piece down here, it's more of the sort of level hilltop, so it makes for a larger buildable area up there for housing development. Essentially, the forested slope remains as, you know, the school district property. Up in the corner here, to get to your question about the where the BMX jump track is there, their intention is to build teacher housing there. That they would be dedicating a road where currently we just have a right of way over the property for just a couple of big water mains and the little access that goes up to the water tower. So that road would provide access. It's key because Short Road that was dedicated back in 1980 runs into the steepest slope and really is prohibitive for getting road access up in here. But this grade makes for a decent road access. It sort of frees up that municipally owned property for other uses. So those would be the two areas that would be swapped, and the intention that would really be registering a plan of subdivision so that the district would sort of then have 3 parcels of land at the top, the road dedicated, and these 2 lots, D and E, that are labeled on the plan. Those would be school district parcels that are created but this still owned by the school district, zoned for public institutional, and part of this would be a zoning amendment to allow staff housing or employee housing on those areas as well. And so their intent is to go for funding to get that, and they have that underway and have some of it already in their capital plan, I understand. Does that answer the question? So in a nutshell, then, that would be sort of the second phase. If first piece would be we're seeking authorization to do the register of the plan so that the hilltop parcel here is one piece, and the second would be subject to the process the school district needs to go through with ministerial approval and whatnot. You know, essentially moving forward with registering the plan to do this land swap and road dedication and sort of set this up for municipal purposes, which what's been proposed and what we're working on, which will be a separate discussion, is around going for a grant with the Community Housing Fund in the immediate future for looking at developing affordable housing on Lot A.
Councillor Noel?
But the swap and the lower chunk of property is not subject to that grant application. From my understanding, what you just said, that the swap is to allow them to be able to look for funding in order to build some staff housing. Is that correct?
What the swap does is it makes for a more useful parcel for the district and a more useful parcel for the school district. So if no funding comes forward, if nothing else, we've gained road access, road right-of-way for services in a road that's actually constructible to essentially extend Bay Street. Where currently it's not a landlocked parcel, but its only legal frontage is on Short Road, which is very steep. And it would likely require expropriating some land from the apartment site there, and you know, that's a whole other feasibility challenge of getting up that slope, so it'd be quite disruptive. So if nothing else, what it does is basically leaves both public bodies with a configuration of parcels, which is just more practical for whenever funding is available in the future for using that.
And I see these 5 recommendations as sort of housekeeping. It supports collaboration with SD70, but it also kind of splits off those 2 Ucluelet parcels so that we can decide what to do with that water tower lot. I think the bigger conversation about applying for a grant is for another day. Correct?
Mayor McEwen, that is absolutely correct. And so I think it's mentioned in there that we're working on essentially having that discussion of, because this is really laying the groundwork for these parcels of land, which the two public bodies would then have legally on the books, if you will. That other discussion is what's possible with a grant application, which is an immediate opportunity for a grant, which would be just focused on one of those parcels. But this is really the groundwork for whether it's that grant and whether it's successful or not. At least then the boundaries are clear between the school district and the district, and the potential for access is there.
And it also provides an opportunity to potentially sell that water tower lot as opposed to developing it ourselves.
That is absolutely the purview of council. Like, there's a whole series of decisions that would have to be made, and that this is really we've been working with the school district around cleaning up the title and the layout of the lot lines, if you will. That with any kind of development, whether it were for housing or a council looking at deciding to do, some other use of that parcel of land, this basically opens up the door to accessing it in a way that seems to be sort of financially feasible.
Perfect. Thank you for explaining that. Councillor Anderson?
Yeah, that's through the mayor. Thank you for that. There's a part of that scares me a little bit. I'm not opposed to the land swap or, in theory, any of these motions that are here. I'm definitely opposed to the idea of the Matterson lot at the top. I think that just doesn't make sense. Basically, just looking at the numbers, but the SD70 swap, that makes sense on paper. The only thing that scares me is when you say things like municipal purposes, and then you say this gives us access to putting in services in a road. My concern is, so I want to be clear. When you say by doing the land swap, it gives you access to be able to put in a road and services. Is this a road and services for that upper lot that you're planning on doing? That's up in the top part there on the by the water tower lot, because I wouldn't want to see taxpayer money go towards something like that, especially if we weren't sure that we were going to have that money in place. And I definitely wouldn't. I know how expensive that's going to be. I think it's completely underestimated what that's going to be. And I wouldn't want people to be on the hook with that. I know that there was some funding talk there about borrowing money off MRDT into the future. There was talk about using Barclay Community Forest money, and I don't know, that's a bit bewildering to me. But so would you think that by getting access using the swap, would you start to go ahead and build infrastructure and servicing to service what would be at the top of that 50 unit idea that you have?
I think that would be a decision of council.
But he did say that they would have access to start building the road.
Well, these are housekeeping items that kind of makes more sense so that we can do something with that piece of property, like sell it.
But would the road be constructed up to the top of that hill? Is that what you're looking to do by having that access?
Through the mayor. Council in February asked staff to look at this and preparing for this grant application. Any construction needs to have a budget. We don't have a budget to build a road. Any decision to construct services up there would be a council decision. And so the details of what the finances are for, now that our engineer has engineered the road and they're costing it out with a quantity surveyor, looking at the water and the sewer and the all the things that go into just servicing any development, any new subdivision of lots. All of that costing will be provided to council, and you will need a council decision and direction prior to going forward for the grant. If we go forward for the grant and we don't get the grant, we have no way of building a road, we being the district, until we find an alternative for financing for that. What it would do, and if we don't go for the grant or aren't successful in obtaining the grant, it's still what this would do is it would provide the legal dedication of that highway is the legal term for what would be the road right of way. So if the school district has funding to build theirs, they might build the first 100 feet of it so they have access into their parking lot and the water and sewer can go in. And so it kind of frees up the two to happen on their own timeline. That's all it really does. It puts the legal lot lines in the right place, but money needs to be there to pay for construction at some point before things get built. And as you know, we don't have that in the budget now, so that's going to need a series of council approvals before it gets to that point. So it's really in the control of council.
Yep, that answers my question.
Any other questions for Mr. Gregg? I think we're good to go with the recommendations to clean up these lot lines and land swap with the school district.
Council, if you wouldn't mind, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Hardy.
Yeah, so just want to be for full, Mr. Craig is mentioning about a grant application. That application could be as early in front of council as the July 31st meeting. So if you notice my CO comments, it is, even though I believe that these are good housekeeping amendments and also gives council and the community opportunities in the future if the subdivision goes through. There are decisions to be made relatively quickly if this is a project the council wants to proceed with. So I just want to make sure you won't be surprised if you see something as early as the 31st. So I think we can have that debate then. I still believe these are good housekeeping rules, but if council doesn't want to subdivide these properties, it's also one to consider sooner than later. I think again, though, the housekeeping and cleaning up with the school board, those are all really good objectives.
Yes, thank you. And the bigger conversation is what do we want to do after that? So that can be later. So we do have 5 recommendations, and they should be read separately.
I'll move the first one.
Okay, Councillor Noel.
The council endorse a letter of intent with School District 70, Pacific Rim, for an in-kind land exchange for the purpose of developing much-needed community housing, and authorize a corporate officer to sign the letter of intent.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
A second.
Councillor Hoare. Any further discussion?
I got a comment.
Councillor Noel.
I'm supportive of this, but I'm not supportive of Matterson Hill. I think, I think the stuff off the highways of Matterson is wonderful. I believe the Matterson is something that obviously staff had been directed. I'm nervous the fact that if we do a bit of housekeeping and give the false pretenses that there's something that the community can take on to be a land developer. We heard one today talk about some of the struggles, and I'm nervous at that aspect. I don't think it matters how much money we're going to get. The success rate that we're going to have I think it's going to be very low. And that's my biggest struggle. I think that if, the bigger question is here, we do the land swap, we do this, staff puts, 200 man hours into a report that we may or may not get to. So, there's some of these recommendations I'm supportive of, but, I am nervous about staff spending time on Matterson Hill when we have developers that are working, trying to work with the planning team in order to execute housing that's desperately needed. And I think that this, for our small community and the small staff, is a significant distraction. Well,
thanks. Point taken, which is why it's the bigger conversation, possibly as early as next week. So I wouldn't worry too much about more staff time at this point. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Would you like to continue with the second?
Number 2, that council provide a letter of support to School District number 70, Pacific Rim, for the development of school district employee housing on their property at the intersection of Matterson and Bay Street.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion?
Just a comment. Again, I think the school district, I don't know how many the Ministry of Education is actually invested in housing. It's very challenging to think that they're going to come up with that, but I'm supportive of it because maybe there will be a bit of a surprise. And I'm also just disappointed that you queue it here in 25 years, knowing that our community center, our schools, and are going to be lost because we want to blast some housing in here. As much as we're trying to protect retention zones, I think we need to protect any kind of land here that that provides the opportunity for kids to get outside.
Thank you for your comment. I have had an initial discussion with our SD70 rep who is fighting for the replacement of our tennis court as part of this potentially. So fingers crossed for that. Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
I'll move number 3, that council requests a letter of support from the Equilithot government for the proposed land exchange of approximately 2,000 meters between the District of Equillet and the School District 70 Pacific Rim.
I think it's square meters, maybe.
Square meters.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? That carries. Do you want someone else to?
No, I'll keep
pick?
going.
Okay.
I'm just reading it here. Sorry. Trying to get used to the electronic version here. That council authorize the registration of a survey plan with the Land Title Survey Authority that would dedicate the Big Beach portion of the remainder district lot 281 as a parkland, leaving Short Road and Water Tower Hill proportion as a separate parcel.
Second.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion?
I think that's a wonderful one of all the 5, Mr. Gregg. That's my favorite. I think that's long overdue. That's a heartbeat of our community.
No other further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
And number 5, that council directs staff to proceed with preparing a subdivision plan for that would configure Short Road, Water Tower Hill portion of the remainder DL 281 in portions of the adjacent school district number 70 Pacific Rim lands consistent with the letter of intent and subject to municipal approval, authorize the registration of the plan with the Land Title Survey Authority.
I'll second.
Thank you, Councillor Noel, and seconded by Councillor Hoare. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries. All right. The 4th report on the agenda is Strategic Priorities Fund Grant, and it will be presented by our CAO, Mr. Harding.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Cadman is away, so I'll have the pleasure of doing this. Became aware of a Strategic Priorities Fund 2025 that's come available, and the grant or the proposals need to be in by mid-September. We'd like to bring it forward to council now to consider some options for which grants to go for. Staff, as you see through the report, there's a number of opportunities and types of projects you can do. There's 2 streams. One is capital infrastructure, and then one's more of a capacity. So on the capital infrastructure, we've given you a number of projects to consider. Staff do recommend, though, continuing with the sewer as it's the most shovel-ready project. As well, we've applied for other grants with that. With the other grants that we've applied for, if we get those grants, we then think it's opportunities to add another project. And with that, given looking at council's capital priorities, the fire hall is another one to put in there. So the goal is to go for the sewer, but if we were able to get the other funding, then add the fire hall in there. There is a number of other projects that are listed for council's consideration. On the capacity building, Public Works and Engineering have had success with a program called Citywide on their asset management, but also their public-facing side of things for call for service. We think there's opportunities to expand Citywide programming for other operations, particularly business licensing. And as we've been working on some of our plan and building processes, working on using Citywide for that, which other communities have done. So with that, I'll turn it over. If there's any questions to staff on the program.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Questions? Councillor Anderson?
No, just a quick comment, and I just thank you. I think these are all great. The sewer, the fire hall, and then the software that we can use for tracking and project tracking. I think that's something that we've wanted for a long time to increase that sort of transparency, especially with planning. So I think that's great. That's a great step forward. So thank you for doing those.
I think there is a typo on page 146 under the sanitary system upgrades. Halfway down the bullets, it says improvements required for 5 years of growth, and then I think the next one is supposed to be improvements required for 10 years of growth instead of then.
Then yes.
It made me laugh, though.
It made me laugh. It made me chuckle. Anyway.
We put those in just to make sure you're reading.
Of course you did. No, it's great. I agree. Sanitary system, make that the first priority unless we get that CHIF grant. And if we get the CHIF grant, then go for the fire hall replacement. And then for the capacity building stream, the citywide asset management, permitting, and planning. Sounds great. Any other questions for staff? Does somebody want to move these recommendations? And they should be moved separately.
I can take a turn.
Councillor Hoare.
I will move that council authorize staff to apply to the Strategic Priorities Fund Capital Infrastructure Stream to fund sanitary system improvements.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I further move that council authorize staff to amend the application to fund a new fire hall instead, should the CHIF grant application be successful.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I move that council authorize staff to apply to the Strategic Priorities Fund grant capacity building stream for the purpose of funding a conversion to the PSD citywide software for asset management, permitting, and planning.
Do I have a seconder?
I will second that.
Councillor Anderson, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Oh, we're getting through all these reports. The fifth report is 2025 councillor by-election results, and it will be presented by Mr. Chow, Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through Mayor to Council, this is the legislative required report after each by-election with a quick summary provided to Council. And we have 4 candidates, and we summarize all the key process in the by-election. The turnout is 463 people with 36 new voters. The process runs smoothly, have no anything disruption. I can answer any questions Council have. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Chow? Pretty straightforward. There's one recommendation. Councillor Anderson.
I'll move that the Chief Election Officer's report for the June 28th, 2025 by-election to elect one councillor be received by Council of the District of Ucluelet.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. The next report on the agenda is Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation dissolution, also presented by Mr. Chow, Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through Mayor to Council, the Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation was established 2000 as a vehicle, can be used as joint venture for economic development. And but since 2019, there is no activity occurred under this corporation. And we are spending a couple $1,000s each year just legally to keep the corporation. So right now we have roughly 4,000 the balance in the corporation's account. So we recommend the council to dissolve the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. I had a question about the balance in that account. Can it be transferred to something called economic development in our GL? Do we have a sort of a category for that?
I think we can do it because the district is the whole owner of that corporation. Once it transfer back to the district, we can allocate it to any fund the council decide.
Does that make sense to put it toward economic development, since that's what the UEDC was for in the first place? Or any other suggestions? It's just under 5,000, I think.
Yeah, 4,700 something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, everybody's good with that? Okay. There are 4 recommendations that should be moved separately.
Mark, do you want
I
to?
can do those.
Yeah, there you go. You've been way too quiet. Get going.
Yeah. I just know it's hard sometimes with the lag, and but I'll move that council approve the attached Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation's 2024 annual report.
I'll second.
I'll further move.
Councillor Hoare seconds.
Oh.
All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
I'll further move that council approve Ian Kennington be removed as a director of the Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation effective immediately.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
I'll further move that council appoint Mako Noel to be a director of the Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation effective July 22nd, 2025.
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
And finally, I'll move that council approve the Ucluelet Economic Development Corporation be dissolved effectively July 22nd, 2025.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Councillor Noel.
Yeah, I think it's a good housekeeping thing, but we've had it for 25 years, and there was a purpose, whether it was community forest or a lot of other things. What's bringing the urgency to dissolve this?
I was told to finish these items when I started here.
Okay.
So yeah.
Mr. Richard
Harding.
Mr. Harding, thank you. I'm curious your comments. I think it's great. I think it's nice to have this shelf ready. You never know when someone walks into these chambers and says, "Hey, we want to do something." There was always a hope. I don't need to get into too many examples here that there was going to be some kind of partnership, and having something like this was beneficial to the community. I wanted to get your comments on that.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Councilor Noel. I'm in the same position with Mr. Chow, is that this seemed to be something that was been started before both of us got here, as something that council wanted us to work towards dissolving. I haven't really looked into it. If council wants to pause this, Mr. Chow and I can look a little bit more of where the background is. What if there is any opportunity for you to have anything? I know this council has created an economic development committee that's which 2 councillors sit on, and that's through the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm assuming that that was the decision to go that way versus having a separate arm's length board or body. So I don't have a lot of details for you, Councillor.
I believe Mr. Rotenberg began this process a couple of years ago. And a corporation does cost money each year to file annual reports.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not disputing any of that. I just, anyways, I'm not supportive of it. I think there's a purpose for it. It's something good to have on the shelf. Understands the housekeeping item, and it was something that obviously the group of you have made obviously a decision on in the past.
And I have to say that's probably the shortest job that you've ever had in your life. That was about 2 minutes in between the.
No, I've had one other short job.
The third motion and the fourth motion.
I'm not for everyone.
What could I ask?
Councillor Anderson.
Sorry, through the mayor. To have it on the shelf, I'm just curious, and I just to understand. Do you think that's a good idea to keep? I'm trying to think of situations where it might be good to have that open. I'm just trying to get my head around some ideas.
Yeah, Mr. Rotenberg could not find any good ideas at the time.
Again, if I may, there's different opportunities before the community right now. And I think the reality is, if we were that dormant community, we have developers in the community, we got, investment coming in the community. So I think having an option like this when we're having a discussion with a group is a viable option. When you don't have the option because you don't even know about it, I think it pigeonholes us. So again, that's just my 2 bits. It doesn't hurt us to give it 12 months, defer that final decision and get back to it. I just think, wham bam, let's get rid of it. And then someone walks in, mayor meets with someone and they have some great ideas, and then we're phoning in Young and Anderson for $15,000 to get us a shelf. So I think that's my opinion.
There's been no activity since 2019, so 6 years of
absolutely
being dormant.
Could I ask
Councillor Anderson?
Could I ask Richard a question, or Mr. Harding? So we have an economic development committee now through the chamber that the mayor and I sit on. I'm just wondering what would be the difference if we held on to this corporation. By having the corporation, does that give a little more power to something? Like I don't know if you'd be familiar with that or not.
Yeah, there is, and if council would like, we just wouldn't be able, with everything else we're working on, we probably wouldn't get back to it till the fall. There's a number of communities have separate economic development corporations. They'll call them different things, but in essence, it's an arm's length body that works towards a variety of different types of economic development, and you'll see some of them focusing on housing. You'll see some of them focusing on diversification projects. You look at some of them will look at how do you attract different types of development or industry. I'm not sure the intention of this one was done many years ago. I'm assuming it's similar to that. There was a change in the economics, probably transitioning from forestry to service based, and so there's probably a desire to look at what can you do. But there's many communities throughout British Columbia have these. We could come back and show you what the benefits are and what the costs are, if that's something the council would like.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm just trying to get my head around what the benefit of having the corporation for the EDC would be, as opposed to not. That's just my own trying to figure that out.
The mayor, in general, and it will be a short list, and there's probably a longer list. Again, it's an arm's length corporation, so it's a separate corporation that can then act more independently, can solicit different types of funding, can leverage different funding, different types of borrowing, and then it can also focus. Its makeup is usually what council wants to be made up as. But it will have a specific focus and objective, so it's very focused in what they're trying to achieve.
Are you thinking of blue economy opportunities?
Potentially. Earlier, I thought that this was sort of something that was more tailored to the community forest type situation, where it was sort of tailored to that, and now we're doing something a little different with the committee. But I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. It's spooking me a bit when Councillor Noel is saying, why not keep this thing on the shelf in case we need it? And now I'm thinking, are we going to potentially need it?
Yep. Well, we can always defeat the motion.
It's whatever you like to do. I'm just asking, and let's call it the question.
Okay. It seems like council wants a little more information about its potential uses. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? That motion is defeated.
So not trying to be a stick in the mud on that one, but just to have a little more information down the road, and no rush on that either. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. We'll look into that. Yeah, probably later this fall we get back to you with anything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you. The next report on the agenda is Bylaw Dispute Adjudication System, and it will also be presented by Mr. Chow, Manager of Corporate Services.
Thank you. Through Mayor to Council. Currently, the district is in a ticket system. So basically, the bylaw ticket have to go to the court and have to personal served. We have to hire a lawyer to go through the court system. But we are looking at joining the province, basically have this called a bylaw dispute adjudication system. It's sort of like simplified the process, kind of like a small claims court kind of thing. You don't need a lawyer, you don't need a personal served. And the city of Nanaimo has been run that system for over 20 years. Tofino joined for like 10, 15 years. And so join that system, it will be much easier to enforce a ticket. And our current bylaw officer used to work for a district of Tofino, so she has experience with this adjudication system. She told me usually in Tofino's case, each year they have 4 or 5 tickets. They will go through the adjudication system. Depending how long it take, adjudicator usually cost only $100, $200. So that make it more worthwhile if some repeated offender in bylaw, we can actually issue a ticket, go through adjudication system. So I have all the background material here, and if council have a question, I'm happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is based on a system that Nanaimo has been using for a long time, and Tofino recently joined. Any questions for Mr. Chow? Pretty straightforward. There are 2 recommendations. And move them separately. Yes, please.
Okay, I can jump on that.
Okay, Councillor Anderson.
I'll move that staff be authorized to collaborate with the province of British Columbia as necessary to obtain provincial approval for the District of Ucluelet to implement a bylaw adjudication program.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I will further move that staff be authorized to work with the City of Nanaimo to integrate with its dispute adjudication registry system, in brackets DARS, to facilitate the implementation of the bylaw adjudication program.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? No, okay. There are 2 pieces of correspondence on the agenda today. The first one is from Robin Mayer regarding bear safety and garbage pickup. We certainly seem to have a lot of bear activity lately. She's suggesting that we move to a system that Whistler and Banff use, which eliminates curbside garbage pickup altogether. Any thoughts on that? We have a WildSafe coordinator that we could reach out to and just see if there are any options. I do know from experience replacing the carabiners with padlocks works really, really well. But further to that, chaining the bins to something concrete that, like for us, it's just a big alder tree. Chaining 2 of the bins around the alder tree, the bear can't drag it off. Because we've had bears on our property for a couple of weeks now. But yeah.
I'd love to chime in if possible. I would never presume to speak for Bob, who does a tremendous job, wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience. But from having talked to him many times over the years, from sitting on a number of committees and sort of working in a tangentially related space, I agree that we've got some serious problems in our community. And my take on it is that a lot of it has to do with people who either don't follow the rules because they're not interested or because they're ignorant. I know that the education campaigns that WildSafe has been running that have been supported by the district have gone a long way. At the end of the day, I think we need to be really realistic about how garbage is produced and disposed of in our community. A significant number of the bear issues that we have occur at a time during the year that kind of overlaps with peak tourism visitation. And I think that there's a correlation between those 2 things. But most importantly, I think it would be completely unrealistic to expect that we're going to be able to switch away from garbage pickup. I think it's a bit of a red herring. It's not going to solve our problems. I personally would love to see more garbage pickup, more frequent garbage pickup. You know, I understand we're a small community, and I'm sure there are people in council chambers who have a much better idea of the sort of economics of what's involved in the garbage pickup for our community. But I think that might be one of the things that we could consider. And then the second might be to have the option of more and more accessible dumpsters throughout town. I know at the Small Craft Harbor Whiskey Dock, when you know, whenever there are dumpsters, even ones that are locked, even private ones, they too get overwhelmed. And so it might be worth investing as a community in the option of you know, public dumpsters or something. But at the end of the day, I really think people just need to be much more responsible, and maybe this is a bylaw thing, maybe it's a name and shame thing, but it's ridiculous what happens in terms of inappropriate garbage disposal, and that's what habituates these bears. You know, like, bears are always going to be interested in easy pickings, but the problem here is not people using the system, using the bins, locking them up, chaining them up, doing everything properly. It's people that are just leaving garbage out in plain sight. And I don't think that, as like someone raised the issue a few meetings ago about how they wanted a stop sign because there were drunk drivers driving through. Like, the problem that we've got right now is not with the people who are following the system and the rules. It's with people who are ignoring it. And there's no way to account for that beyond enforcement, education, enforcement, and making it foolproof. So those are just my 2 cents, but I wanted to speak up because it's something I'm pretty passionate about in my personal life and in my professional life outside of council. And yeah, frankly, it's absolutely ridiculous what we've seen this year and in years past. And I think we need to be more proactive about dealing with it, but realistically, not wishful thinking.
Councillor Noel?
I'm nervous in commenting on things, but I will. I appreciate your comments, Mr. Mafti, and I really believe that this letter needs to be forwarded to the West Coast Committee. I think the regional district is the one that has pretty much set our schedule, how we're going to do business, and I think it's, you know, I believe you're the director representative for our community, and you know, I'd love to see I'd like to see the letter go to the West Coast Committee, and I would take it one step further. I would like to see this council meet with perhaps some of the staff responsible for the service, because I too, I feel that fines are, you know, you could probably go look to see how many fines aren't paid for garbage infractions. You know, I spend most of my Fridays trying to whip bad commercial customers into shape, and it's very frustrating. But it would definitely be a lot easier if Bylaw was walking around and saw an unclipped garbage can and simply gave a $500 fine. We just passed a way to collect it. And I, you know, this problem isn't going away. It happens every year. I too, a big fan of Bob, his passion. I know Bob has tried to retire many times. You can't duplicate him with the passion and his inexperience. And I think we're doing a huge injustice by not simply having this new way to collect money and just start issuing fines on a simple drive-through. And that's what I think we need to do before June or May of 2026. I think we need to have enforcement, and I think we need to have fines. I work with the regional district weekly on the challenges between carts, and it's just really, I could list the 45 culprits. There needs to be fines, you know, and until we change the bylaw, it's a click, let's make it happen and start issuing fines. Otherwise, we're going to continue to talk about this for the next 5 or 10 years. And so I got a champion here. You got to talk about it more than I can, because the people will say that I'm making money here. But the reality is it's challenging and it needs to change. And so I'd like to see that be something that we can take on. I don't have a motion, but I think that that'd be a great committee of the whole conversation to talk about that, and maybe get some of the regional district people that are making these decisions and try to make it more, come up with some local solutions. Thank you.
Do you think forwarding this letter to the West Coast Committee would do anything?
Again, they're the ones that are providing the service. So, your group needs to talk about this. And if your group doesn't think there's a problem in the West Coast, that's really your decision. We know there's a problem, and we need to change our bylaws. And it would be nice to have something that's that's across the board, because it's not just in Ucluelet. They're coming through Millstream. They're walking down the peninsula. They're not swimming across the bay. So we know where they're coming from. And I think that we have to do a better job. We owe it to Bob, because when Bob comes in, does his annual thing, we talk, but we haven't done our part, which is enforcement. And if you're not doing it, you have to pay. And that, again, if we can come up with a way to enforce it, that money out of that enforcement will be able to help work on the prevention aspect. So yes, I believe going to the West Coast Committee, putting them on notice, if the rest of you agree, that this has to change for 2026. Otherwise, we're going to be chasing them all around town and wondering that we're not doing the best job, and we're not keeping people accountable.
I would support it if you needed a motion, because you know what? A bear literally nosed in the door of the tea shop when I was there one day. They're right in the middle of town, middle of the day, tourists everywhere. We're not doing our best job, because I can walk around any night, any Sunday night, and I can see 4 or 5 bins that are already out, unclipped, when they shouldn't be on the side of the road.
That's for the organics.
For the organics pickup. And that's going to be the thing that they're, catching the best whiff of course.
Yeah, that's what I hear the most reports of from my friends is they put their organics out Monday morning, and the bears seem to know it's Monday morning, and they do their rounds and just spread stuff everywhere. It's yeah. So in that case, it's not an infraction. They are putting their bin out on Monday morning, and what do? Supervise it until the truck comes around. It's
respectfully, I think that is not the large component of our problem. It's not, on organic day, you're not seeing 50 garbage cans down the street. You're seeing a couple places. They're local to certain areas, and they're local to certain people that have probably, we also have to admit that not everybody has a shelter to roll their container in. Not everybody has a freezer to put it in. I think we can say that a little bit fruitful a little bit later on, but there are a lot of sometimes economic situations that the people have that they physically have to put it beside their trailer because they don't have a place for it. So I think we have to acknowledge some of those challenges that people are having and understanding how we can help them rather than just, so I appreciate the letter from Robin, and I think it's triggering some good debate. We all know it, so this is a great example of sending letters into us and send it to the West Coast Committee. Let those people that are getting paid to look after this realize we have a problem, and go from there.
So I see 2 motions. One is to forward the letter to the West Coast Committee, and a second one to have bylaw enforce.
I just want to actually I'll let you finish, and I've got one final point for discussion, but I think you're just in the process of drafting up the motions here.
Okay, so someone would like to move.
I'll move that this letter be forwarded to the West Coast Committee.
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
You may or may not like the next one.
None opposed. That carries.
The next one is I would further second motion is that we perhaps have a committee of the whole in the fall regarding bear safety. We're going to have 2 stats and then and maybe dive into it a little bit deeper.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I'd support that, and I don't want to sound like a broken record and repeat the points I made before, but I really think that a lot of the solutions that we need to focus on are solutions within our community, and I wholeheartedly support the sort of fine people into compliance. My understanding, and this comes from sort of secondhand information, is that it's honestly like a lot of repeat offenders that are the problem, and that's what habituates the animals. And a second point that I just want to sort of throw out here because the organics came into it. I just honestly have to put it out there that at the scale that Ucluelet composts, I think that we may want to honestly reconsider to what extent we encourage that during certain times of the year, like cost benefit analysis. I'm not anti-composting, but I really do think that it's causing us more problems than it's solving during the times of the year when we're dealing with this. But the number one issue is the garbage, and within that issue are people who just don't care. And if they don't care about bears, if they don't care about safety, if they don't care about the community, usually those people care about getting fined. So I think that's definitely the path forward, and that's something that committee of the whole, perfect forum. Obviously, everyone in town is passionate about this, but we need to get everyone in town working together to actually deal with this, because this is going to be a problem forever, as Councilor Noel said, until we change the way that we look at it and the way that we deal with it. And it's very sad, you know. I love bears, and it's really sad to see what's happening.
So would you like to make a motion to have our bylaw actively fine people who are not keeping their carts clipped?
Yeah, absolutely. It really stuck with me. I was cautioned not to make motions on the fly. If that's something that we can move forward with at this point, I would certainly move that council give direction to staff to ensure that bylaw prioritizes or at least gives priority to compliance checks and fining offenders. And we may want to look into revising the fine structure to make it, you know, increasingly undesirable for people who are repeat offenders. That's a pretty shitty motion. Sorry,
That's okay.
That's a pretty sloppy motion. So
I think Mr. Chow will get the gist of that.
Okay, yeah, without the cursing.
Yeah. Is there a seconder?
That was my favorite part. I'll second that one.
Councillor Noel seconds. Any further discussion?
I'll just say I remember bringing up when the ACRD came to us about the organics thing. My worry was the bears getting into the garbage more with these bins, and we've seen it. And I mean, I know that we have bin clip changes and things to help. I'm like,
the padlocks really work. Trust me.
Yeah. And I do know that, you know, if people freeze their garbage, there's all sorts of ways that people can make it not attractive, but not everybody does that. And that is the issue. And what we need really is kind of 100% compliance in this town. And
we have to be, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I can't tell if there's a lag.
You're all good. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, like, the flip side of it for me, the other side that I comment from is I've spent, you know, most of my life working in the Arctic around bears, constant issue, constant presence, and just, you know, the way that I'd run a field camp, we'd have bears coming in and out on a daily basis, and we wouldn't have problems because everything was clean, tidy, done properly. And of course that means that, you know, we make some decisions that may not be ideal, you know, burn garbage all the time, do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. But I think we need to be realistic, and we need to be prepared to make some sacrifices. And if you say, oh, you know, we're going to stop composting, people, you know, might be horrified, but like, let's be real. What's the cost? What's the benefit? And I think we need to look at it from, you know, what's the worst case scenario during a time of the year when we have lots of bears in the community, and just say, like, what's our priority here? So I'm perfectly happy with letting a few, you know, sort of, I'm happy discouraging people from composting during certain times of the year, because if you know, we conclude that that's going to reduce the bear impact, I think that's a good deal.
Okay, thanks for that discussion. Call the question. All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
What kind of tea did the bear get?
The bear was after the bubble tea, I think.
The bubble tea?
Yeah, pretty sure that's what it was. I don't think he was a milkshake bear.
No, it's like a Paddington kind of.
Yeah, Paddington. Wanted tea, proper tea, with a spot of milk.
That is right in the middle of town, too. Holy
It was. I was working on my computer. I looked up. I'm like, and I looked through the window, just, you know, the way you sort of pulling together your thoughts. And I'm like, that's a bear. I saw it go past the door, and I stood up and watched it come. Like, it was right in the middle of Peninsula Road, came down, nosed into the tea shop, and then went down beside the building, then came up about 20 minutes later. But there were tourists all across at the Barclay Cafe on the benches, cameras out, taking pictures. There was traffic. There were, like, it was a nutty time for there to be a bear in the middle of town, and he was obviously not concerned by people, and that's what worries me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see what we can do to remedy this situation. All right, the second piece of correspondence on the agenda is Sharon Fuller regarding proposal, a sister twin city link of support, universal humanitarian friendship, and peace promotion. Would any member of council like to bring this item forward for discussion?
I'll bring it forward. Ms. Fuller is in the audience, so I think it's important to acknowledge it. Thank you for bringing the letter in. I'll share it with the rest, and I think maybe our administrator might have a couple comments. I just want to thank you for the letter. I encourage letters to come in, and there is a bit of a, we don't have a policy on sister cities. Richard, or sorry, I'll pass it off to the mayor, maybe for some comments.
We don't have a policy, but Mr. Harding did forward us the policy that the city of Nanaimo has on twinning cities, and I can read it out if
yeah, great.
So the Nanaimo policy is that council not enter any further sister city twinning agreements independent of community leadership and participation. That's number one. Number two, support a community-initiated twinning agreement when it is part of a strategy with identifiable community outcomes. It is clear the city selected has been well researched and can bring specific benefits to residents, businesses, or local organizations. An annual budget is identified with committee funding sources, and an appropriate structure is in place to assume responsibility for establishing and maintaining the relationship. So I suppose the question is, are we prepared to do all of those things to support that type of agreement?
Personally, I'm not. I think it's great that I'm receiving the letter. I really wanted to acknowledge it, and I do support the policy that's the Nanaimo has, and maybe that's another Make Work program in the next 6 months. It's probably something that, have you received a letter like this before?
No.
Are we a sister city to someone already?
We're not.
Okay. Thank you.
And Ms. Fuller did look that up for us on Google, so thank you for that. Mr. Harding, do you want to say anything about the Nanaimo policy?
Thank you, Mayor. No, I was just providing you, because I know you're going to be addressing this issue, so I thought I'd just give you some what one community has done in the past. I'm sure there's other options out there too. That was just one, so I know you'd be having to deliberate over this.
Thank you. I think it's worth sending it over to staff to create a policy, whether it copies this exactly or not. Does that make sense?
I'm supportive of that.
Okay, so we'll refer this to staff to come up with a policy of sister city twinning. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Thank you. Okay, mayor's announcements and council committee reports. Just a notice that we will be holding a special council meeting on July 29th to discuss the ARIF housing agreement and agenda items that were deferred from today's meeting. On July 31st, a public hearing will take place at 2 p.m. to receive public input on OCP Amendment Bylaw number 1366 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1367, and that's to do with the Monado Bay. Following the public hearing, a special council meeting will be held at 4 p.m. to consider third reading and adoption of the two bylaws that are the subject of the hearing. I just wanted to make note that this weekend is Yuki Days, July 25th, 26th, 27th. So Friday evening at the Village Green. Looks like a 5 o'clock start for West Coast Barbecue. That's salmon. An artisan market, live music, and the gumboot toss. Saturday, there'll be a pancake breakfast, 7:30 to 10. The parade leaves the fire hall at 10 a.m. Oh, it leaves the fire hall. Normally it leaves the community center. Interesting. Okay, that's a change. Artisan market and beer garden and live music and kids zone down at the fairgrounds, which includes a pudding eating contest, men's and women's logger sports, Yuki's Got Talent, a keg toss contest, and arm wrestling contest. Sunday, again down at the fairgrounds, an artisan market, beer garden, live music, kids zone, kids and youth logger sports, the baby crawling contest, that's always my favorite, and the nail sale bail-it contest, which is another one of my favorites. It is a pet-free zone. It's $7 for a single day pass, $10 for a weekend pass, and $40 for a weekend family pass. What else was I going to say?
Was it Kevin Bradshaw last year paid for a whole swath of people behind him?
For entrance?
Yeah, he just paid for a massive group behind him. He's put down like $1,500 or something like that.
Perfect.
Paying it forward.
Paying it forward, yeah. I remember that. I was working the front gate at that point.
Gem.
I did want to recognize Olivia Rhodes. She represented the Under-20 Team Canada West at the Pan American Youth Ultimate Championships held in San Jose, Costa Rica, July 15th to the 21st. That's a ultimate Frisbee competition. Team Canada West came away with a silver after a hard-fought battle in the gold medal game against Columbia Remix, which eventually ended in a universe point finish 15-14. Olivia earned one Most Valuable Player during the tournament of 7 games, and what an opportunity for her even to be in San Jose, Costa Rica, to participate in this. It's really great. She accumulated 9 points made up of goals and assists over the 4-day competition, ranking her 2nd overall female for Team Canada West and 6th overall female for the Canadian teams East-West combined. She tied for 19th out of 167 players in the tournament. Team Canada won 5 of 7 games. Both losses were to Columbia Remix. Team Canada West beat Team Canada East in the semifinals to advance to the gold medal match, and the Canadian teams finished 2nd and 3rd. There were 9 participating Pan Am teams in the under-20 division, which were Canada West, Canada East, Costa Rica, Panama, Nicaragua, Columbia Remix, Columbia Raza, Mexico Revolution, and Mexico Tureks. So congratulations, Olivia. That's it for Mayor's announcements, so I'll move on to Councillor Anderson.
Oh, yes. What did I do? On Thursday, July 10th, we met with Tamara Summers from Rising Tide Boatworks and had lunch and talked about the new vessel electrification business that's going to be starting where the Trapalot was, where Euclid Harbor Seafoods was, and I guess it ended up being Pacific Seafoods. But that was a great conversation. So just talking about what things are going to look like down there and what types of things we might be able to do on that property, and what kind of uses we can potentially get in on as far as like the deep moorage and the crane by the dock, things like that. That was a great conversation. Then we moved right into the OCP review. So we had the lovely Lisa Bopalsing come, Chief Executive or Chief Administrative Officer for Powell River, and switching to Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for Nanaimo. So that was great. So we got to sit and go through our, we all did a survey on our OCP and got to look at the things that we liked and didn't like. And that was great. It was, besides having some provincial regulate or updates that we have to do, requirements, I think we all realize that the OCP has a lot of things that need clarifying and consistency, and there's quite a few things that maybe don't align with exactly where we are right now. So it was really nice to go through those and identify like at least a handful of things that we needed to change. What else after that? Tuesday, the 15th, is that right? We did the fire truck push-in with the fire department. That was great. My little ones got to sit in the fire truck, and they were pretty excited about that. That fire truck is an absolute beauty. I think they're pretty happy with it. So that was great. I think our fire chief had to take off. I think his pager went off there. And then yesterday, we met with the Gail, I don't know how to say her last name. Hochachka, Gail Hochachka, that's right, from the ACIT program, which is Advancing Community Energy Transformations, a federal entity that can potentially help us with some things that we might want to do. One of them is possibly revamping that Coast Guard DFO building up by the lighthouse and have that as a blue economy type decarbonization hub, wave energy, kelp, that kind of thing out there. So that's really exciting, and that was a really good meeting, I thought, and she's really excited to get involved. And she's actually originally from Ucluelet, or she lived in Ucluelet for a while back in the 90s, so that was nice to meet with her. That's it for me. I'm gonna be making burgers tomorrow. No, on Friday for Yuki Days with the fire chief
at the Village Green.
Yeah, but then you just said salmon. Am I making salmon?
It's normally salmon.
I mean,
maybe they're including burgers.
There's always been this burgers for those that are not salmon people, and
okay.
sometimes oysters too. But I
used to be
guarantee
oysters.
never.
Yeah. Okay. Well, great.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Hoare.
My big thing last week was attending the Groundfish Development Authority, which I can't tell you a whole lot about, but I will say that the chair of the committee referred to it as the social conscience of the groundfish trawl fleet. It was quite fascinating. And I know that Councillor Noel has sat on that committee in the past, and it was, I actually found it really, really interesting to attend. All of the major players in groundfish trawl processing plants and the like, they present to this committee all the information. So they have to talk about how they're doing things better or more sustainably or all of these things. So it was really quite fascinating. Anyway, so that was my big thing last week. And I picked up my lovely purple shirts because I will be selling beer tickets on Saturday. So that is my project. I will probably also do a bazillion other things because I tend to get tagged, but it's Yuki Days, so.
Yeah, be willing to be tagged.
Be willing to be tagged, yes. Voluntold is what happens to me.
Right. Okay, Councillor Mafty, anything from you?
Not much to report at this time. I've just been on holidays with the family here, heading home tomorrow. Really excited to be back in time for Yuki Days, part of why we're leaving tomorrow, so that we can come back to Yuki and enjoy the festivities. Can't wait.
Awesome, we'll see you there. Councillor Noel?
I have nothing to report, and we look forward to seeing you come back, Mark.
Okay, as for me, some similar ones to Councillor Anderson, well, to the rest of us actually, we all attended July 10th at 1:30, the OCP workshop with Linda Bopulsing. Lisa Bopulsing. Councillor Mafty was on Zoom, but he participated as well. And then July 15th at 6:30 was the push-in ceremony at the fire hall for the brand new fire truck. On the 16th at 10 a.m., I attended a Barclay Community Forest Corporation board meeting. Just a note that salvage operations are now on hold until the fall. It's heli salvage that's being done right now, and they're on hold till the fire season is over. And then at 7 o'clock that evening, I attended Shirley Martin's book launch here at the UCC. That was really well attended. I think there were at least 80 people there. And then yesterday at 3, the Blue Economy meeting was postponed, so we met with Gail Hochachka, one of ACIT's research managers, who works through University of British Columbia. That was a great meeting too. That's it for me. We are now moving on to question period as everybody leaves. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions and comment on matters within council's jurisdiction. Representations about bylaws that council is prohibited from holding a public hearing on, or bylaws that were subject to a public hearing, are not permitted at this time. Are there any audience members that wish to address council? Please step up to the podium. I think you might have to push the button.
Oh. Now it is.
Perfect.
First, thank you very much for reading my correspondence and having a discussion about it. And I'm just not quite sure whether what you're saying is that this is the first step in thinking about a twinning with Gaza City, or whether listening to Councillor Noel, it was more thank you for the correspondence and it ends there. So if you could just give me clarity on that. I'd also like to add something else. There's quite a bit of literature on twinning of cities, so maybe you don't have to rely totally on what Nanaimo did, but there are many models and options out there. So yeah, if you can just tell me, Clara, what's the next step? Has it been is there going to be another step, or is this it?
No, we referred it to staff to draft a policy. It doesn't have to be identical to Nanaimo's. Like you said, there's probably many to look at, and so we're turning it over to staff to come up with a policy for us.
Okay, so first of all, the policy is put in place, and then you look at whether Gaza City
is the correct match.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just to sort of summarize some of it, it seems that Twin Cities are about promoting peace, which always seems like a good idea to me.
Always, yes.
Especially in this context. And also, it has to be in a different regional district, which of course, and I think I might have mentioned that in my correspondence. So it does look as if it could be possible. And of course, there's the added dimension of Gaza City maybe needing friends and solidarity out there right now, more than other sisters or twins.
Yes, and I did click on some of your links about surfing in Gaza.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Thanks for sending those along.
Oh, well, thank you. And just to add to that, I donated yesterday, and so I'm going to put out to the people I know here, anyone who's ever caught a wave, please donate to Gaza City Club.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you again for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming here
Thanks,
today.
Ez.
Thank you for that clarity. Oh,
Yeah.
do I need to switch off?
You're okay. That's great. All right. Are there any members of the public attending by Zoom or telephone that wish to address council?
Thank you, Mayor McEwen. There's no one attending via Zoom that would like to address council.
And have we received any emails to community input at ucluelet.ca during the meeting?
We have not received any emails at community input. Thank you.
Okay, so I will move that the July 22nd, 2025 regular council meeting be closed to the public pursuant to the following sections of the community charter. 90(1) labor relations or other employee relations. 90(1) G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. 90(1) I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Noel seconds. All in favour? None opposed. That carries. And that's at 7:04. And we'll take a 5-minute recess before going into closed.
I was going to get you to drag that one out.
I have to go as well.
I do too.
I didn't go at the last break.
Richard and Councillor Mafty, you can join the closed session via the other Zoom link that I sent you via email. Not sure if you're still there.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.